Hello, hello, folks. We are live. Game 2, Ding Gukesh, about to get underway. How's it going, David? How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Better rested than yesterday, so
Oh,
still working on
wait 1 second. They can't. They can't hear you yet.
it. Okay.
Uh,
They can wait. They can wait. We got a frisky frog in chat. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, look at that, Kostya. Call me tomorrow says the Chess Dojo stream was the best yesterday. That was cool.
nice.
And we achieved it. One round. 13 to go.
Sorry, folks. I know David is muted. I'm gonna fix it. just give me a second, okay? This is why we start the stream
Kostya is sure to succeed.
3 minutes early. Man, this was just working
That's how tech is.
a minute ago.
So,
Oh, there we go. All right.
yeah, did we do it?
No. Hold on.
No?
I figured it out.
Went
It's
on, but
Zoom is the issue. You know what? I figured it out. It's Zoom.
Zoom is keeping its sound to itself.
Zoom is being a real jerk.
Johansson says they can hear me, but I am silent.
All right, Johansson, check again because Coast to Coast fixed the problem.
Yeah, coast to coast.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Hello everyone. Sorry about that. New setup for me, but I think we're good to go. And I worked very hard on the layout, so I hope you all like it. It's what I did instead of napping for longer.
Oh, it's very nice, coast. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. You like these little
I thought
faces?
the I thought that bar was gonna kill your your CPU if you used it.
Oh, let's be clear. So this bar that I have up on the screen,
Yeah.
this is actually the human eval bar,
Hmm.
courtesy of Dojoer Wayne Beam. Shout out to Wayne.
Ah,
So these
nice.
actually correspond to like human evals, like plus equals, plus minus, plus over minus, plus minus, and then the same for black. So I can actually update this one myself. So if we say the starting position is plus equal, I can click it and then it'll go up a little bit.
Care to ooh, demonstrated. Nice.
So this would indicate small advantage for black.
Okay.
So that's for everyone to know in the chat. You guys should know this is our human eval. That's why I got the dojo icons up above it.
Hmm.
But I'm also hoping it lures some people in who think it's like a real eval bar, and like
Hmm.
we'll stay for that.
But oh, I
Oh,
hear a click. I hear a click,
we're
Kostya. I hear
off.
a click.
We're off, and ding with the second
I'm
surprise
guessing
already.
I'm guessing D4, Kostya.
Yeah, guess again.
Guess again. C4.
Uh.
Knight F3.
Nope.
What? What's left? Uh, Not E4, Kostya.
What could be left? What could be left? No, the ding played the Italian.
Oh, he did. Oh my goodness. I thought that Gukesh would play the Sicilian if Ding played E4. So I predicted both of them incorrectly at the same time.
Oh, I'm gonna move it back to equal. No, e4 e5 is not too surprising. Gukesh wants to keep it solid after, especially after yesterday's game.
Man, Ding was very aggressive there. He's looking to score again, Kostya.
Yeah, so he's switching it up. Now he started playing e4, but he didn't do something. Well, okay, here he goes. I was gonna say he didn't do something weird. I was expecting like a Vienna from him, early knight c3, some more rapid influence, and there's
Okay.
the rapid. There's the rapid influence.
Okay. Nice. Well, okay, we're into game two, folks, and there's already a lot to talk about. Ding surprising us with e4. I thought that he would basically shy away from that move throughout the match. Um, because not because of e4, e5. I thought like if he could be assured that Gukesh would stick to his main weapon e5, then he might be encouraged to duel him in a long series of Gyoko pianos. But I really thought that he wouldn't be confident to play the Sicilian with Gukesh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think. I mean, e4 for me, it's okay. It can't be like a huge surprise, right? But it feels like a minor surprise. Clearly, he was ready for it because he played e5 quickly, so he had his plan. And he's played a6 quickly too. Like knight c3 is kind of unusual here, basically on any move. So you would maybe stop and think for a bit, but he's well prepared. David, I want to ask you your thoughts on
Yeah.
yesterday's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I've got my thoughts ready.
I know. I mean, actually, you stayed up for the whole thing, which was heroic, or like almost the whole thing. I mean,
Apparently, he resigned the move after I went to bed.
yeah, that's what I'm curious. Like when you went to bed, did you know it was over, or did you just think he was gonna lose? Or
I mean, I knew he was going to lose the game.
okay,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I didn't know for sure that he would resign on the next move or anything like that. Honestly, I thought he could have resigned one move sooner. Um, so I just thought it was at a point where it wasn't worth my sleep anymore.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
had
at
passed
5
that
a.m.,
point.
yeah, that's probably it's probably good to. I would have called it after e5. After Ding played e5, I would have been like, all right, I'm out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, it was around then, I was just delayed slightly in going to sleep by Jesse getting ready to take over the broadcast from me.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna just kill the broadcast and then have people wait 8 minutes for him to resume and say, okay, he resigned.
yeah. No,
So,
that'd be terminal.
so I just
Um,
left the stream running till Jesse was ready.
but yeah, I gotta say, I kind of can't believe you guys. I couldn't make it the first night. I'm sorry, and all of a sudden, Gukesh loses on your
Yeah,
watch. He just loses the
right.
first game with white too. With white.
Yeah, it wasn't successful. But you're saying I have something to do with his results?
I'm just saying it was you and Jesse last night.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't happen to be there, and he loses.
yeah.
So
True, true.
it's just hopefully we have better luck today.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I know there are some sports fans who think that their actions have an effect on the results of games.
hmm
I just think people are crazy though, Kostya. Like I don't think it's even the beginning of a thing.
Well, maybe not, but you know, some people believe in it, and sometimes it does work. There's this movie Silver Linings Playbook where it turns out okay for the sports fans.
That's a really fun movie.
I do enjoy that one a lot. I
Yeah.
want to bring up the FIDE broadcast real
Interesting.
quick just so I could get the player cam. And yeah, so this is the first thing, by the way, we should mention. Gukesh thought for a couple minutes on a4,
Mm-hmm.
but he did play a move. He went d6 and castles, and Ding is still just kind of blitzing.
Yeah. I mean, they could have this position with colors reversed, by the way, at some point this match. This is well within both of their wheelhouses, this particular opening here. He will be reasonably well prepared in it, as Lazy Hawk and others are asking, and so will Ding, right? So they're on mutually home territory here.
Yeah. Folks, I will remind you guys we are using the human eval bar courtesy of Wayne Beam. I realize it looks like a computer eval bar, but it's actually totally in our control. So if we say white's winning, white's winning. You know, it's like this is our
Yeah.
bar. So,
Yeah.
um,
Um,
I feel like we're gonna get in trouble. I feel like people are gonna get
yeah.
the wrong ones.
I think there's a small danger, and we'll see how it goes. There's a small danger that you spend like 1 out of every 5 minutes telling people like, no, 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 it's not really the eval bar. We haven't gone over.
I'm
Um,
hoping chat will take over that role at some point.
mhm. Yeah. You could pin it over on Twitch apparently, but not on YouTube.
True, true. Oh, that reminds me. On YouTube, I wanted to do a thing because Ludwig made a thumbnail for us for our YouTube for our stream.
Oh, wow.
So let me upload that into YouTube, and we'll see if we get an uptick from YouTube.
Matthew has this question. How annoyed do you think Ding and Gukesh are by the whole ceremonial move thing at the start? I'd be so annoyed. Lol. I actually saw a picture of the ceremonial first move from yesterday, and it was made by Demis Hassabis,
Oh,
who
nice.
Jesse brought up recently.
Mm-hmm.
And if ever there was somebody who would have a reason to be making a ceremonial first move, it would be somebody who led the Alpha Zero project, right? Normally it's like the local mayor or the cousin of a businessman who contributed to the prize fund or something. Um,
Right.
but I saw a picture of it, and actually, I thought to myself, Gukesh looks annoyed.
Hmm.
And that was like my actual thought. And then this guy asks, how annoyed do do I think they are? I think they might be a little bit annoyed. I think Gukesh might be a little bit annoyed. Yeah, I've never really thought of that. I've always seen people like Kirzan Ilyumzhinov making the first move, and even just in photos and stuff, right? Or who's the Russian one now? Um,
Yeah, Dvorkovich.
Morkovich. I always see those kind of guys making the first move, and I think like, man, I would not even let them make my first move. I would be very annoyed.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah, it's a lot of dignitaries, and it's a lot of people that, yeah, later you could get in trouble for being in a photo with them, kind of thing.
right. Yeah.
um,
Whoa,
but
Crying's
I,
here.
I can't imagine they're so annoyed by it because it's very common, so they must be used to it.
Right.
Oh, wow. Wow, Jesse couldn't sleep either, huh?
Yeah. This is early for Boomer GM. He's not missing a beat. He worked so hard on the layout. What are we gonna do? Just have his voice?
No, it's cool. I'll just quickly crop them in.
Just quickly crop it. You've got nice big spaces on the camera, so you can just double Jesse and I up
Yeah, yeah. You guys will have to
down here.
bunk.
We'll share the bunk. Yeah. Old people do often get up early, yes, but this is pushing it even for Jesse. I mean, he's an old guy, but he also still has kids, so
Right. Oh,
um, yeah. So anyway, Gukesh is young for this kind of fanfare, right? He doesn't have that, well, I've been through it 100 times. I just sort of block it out. He really looked annoyed in that picture, Kostya, and I was like, maybe he doesn't even know who Demis Hassabis is.
man, who is this guy?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Um,
Or JD says some demonic CEO of a gambling organization. Yeah. Some random dignitaries, dictators of small Central European nations.
yeah, I was listening to Caruana on the C Squared podcast. They were discussing the first game, and Fabi was saying that the first round's always very nerve wracking for the challenger. Your first time in this like kind of fishbowl arena, like the whole world's watching you, everyone's there. It's just like the biggest game of your life. Um, so yeah, I can see the players just being kind of like on edge in general. Um, I wanted to say I thought I caught the game afterwards. Of course, I was
Hmm.
I was sleeping. I was up all weekend, and then I watched. Okay, actually, first thing I did, because I knew when I went to bed, I knew it was like, okay, when I wake up, there's gonna be spoilers all over. So I was
Hmm.
very strategic. First thing I did is I went to Twitch, and I just went to like I went to our VOD. I just wanted to watch some of the VOD before I saw the result.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I
That's very
skipped through the
flattering.
VOD a bit, and then eventually I saw. I also saw some cryptic text messages from people, so that was like that was a little. So I wasn't sure what happened, but
Oh yeah, you can't check your texts. Oof. Spoiler central.
um, but yeah, then I started watching like recaps and stuff, and I thought Ding played like a fantastic game actually. Looking at it, like really high quality. I didn't think Gukesh like played terrible or anything. It's just
I have a different take. I think Gukesh played terrible.
really
Yeah.
wow. I mean, he did. Ding did kind of make him look like a child, but I didn't think he played that bad from what I saw.
Oh yeah, I think he played super bad. Um, I think the game was basically at the level of if I'd been playing white and Jesse had been playing black. That was about the level. Like I predicted basically all of Gukesh's moves, and Jesse predicted all of Ding's moves, and that's basically how I would have lost a game as white to Jesse. Except that I wouldn't have blundered Bishop G5.
Wow. So you think they
I
both
could
played
have, I
below
could
their
have, I
level?
could have blundered Bishop G5. It's the kind of move I do blunder. I could have blundered all of it. But yeah, I think it was really not good for Gukesh. Before everyone gets super mad, I like Gukesh. I like Ding. Like, forget about the disrespecting, blah blah blah. I think they're great. I love them. I that's just we're supposed to give our objective takes on what's going on, you know, and that's my take on what's going on. I think that
Yeah, the whole
uh,
internet is like, oh, Ding haters are silenced now, or Ding haters in shambles.
yeah,
Look, guys,
he's
he
got
dropped
no
to number
haters.
23 in the world. What are we supposed to think, all right? What are we supposed to think? I'm glad he's back, though. I'm glad he's, well, I guess you don't think so. I thought it was a decent
I
game.
don't know if he's back or not, but I think he had a good strategy for the game, right? I saw in the press conference he said that he had this thought that Gukesh might be nervous, and that's why he picked this kind of complicated line in the first game to give Gukesh more room to like hang himself with White.
Yeah.
So that's super. That's that like that's world championship level preparation and reasoning and thinking because at this level it's not just about playing good moves. Like you just play a bunch of random good moves, your opponent plays a bunch of random good moves, you don't beat them, right? At the 27 to 2800 level.
Yeah.
um you have to figure out what's gonna mess with them, right? Where might they make a mistake and then lead them there. So on that front, super good, and it looked like he had some confidence and a good and a clever plan and all that, right? But as far as the moves he made, and Les Roland saying I disagree, all the moves by Black were impressive. Sure, but Jesse found every single one of them. Jesse
Okay,
found
I
every
didn't
one
know
of the
that. I
moves.
didn't.
So like,
Well, maybe you know what? Maybe Jesse's strong. Maybe Jesse's
no,
strong.
I
You ever
mean,
think of that?
Jesse's strong compared to me, but like normally not compared to, Ding, Gukesh, Carlson, Aragaisi, which is kind of like the level we're supposedly talking about for the World Championship match.
Fair enough.
Like he's never played in the candidates tournament even.
Fair enough. Jesse, how are you?
Good, man. I got up a little early, ready to go.
Nice, nice. Okay, now before I don't know if you're looking at the stream, but before you yell at us, before other people
Yeah.
yell at us, this is the human eval bar we're using, courtesy of Dojo Wayne Beam. So it looks like a computer eval bar, but it's totally there's different levels, and I can set it for like white to be a bit better, black to be better. So it's
It's a
up
100% kosher halal eval bar.
It doesn't
exactly.
look like it looks yeah. Okay, so just to back up, we have a better one, but these guys are on max, so they're capitalists on max, so they can't use it.
I'm not on a Mac. I am on Windows, but it didn't work for me either. So I don't know. I mean, it's like it's 4 a.m., so I can't.
Yeah.
But it just
Okay.
wasn't working. Like for me, the bar didn't even show up. Like it didn't. There was no color. I'm not sure why.
I think I probably you just have to just do a bit. It took me a little bit to figure it out too.
Okay.
But even that one isn't totally perfect yet. Let me just say a couple things or one thing about what you guys said. So one thing it helped me think about the game yesterday was I've beat a lot of players stronger than me with the French, and a lot of those games actually look like that game where White is trying to do a fancy space grab because the computer or something else told him to. And then it's very hard to play that position. Very easy for it just suddenly to fall apart and for the black plan to just kind of materialize. It's not that difficult once you see like knight b. Like I found knight b2 well before, well before queen e2 was played. Because
Yeah.
David was like, well, queen e2. And I was like, he's worried about something. So we started thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's possible, it's chess is interesting that way, in that it's possible to beat somebody better than you with depending on the nature of the position. Okay, I just want to say that. Now, I am not a huge expert of this kind of Gyoko stuff, and this
Right.
Bishop e6 is already really highfalutin because you're encouraging like some crazy Irish pawn structure, right? With bishop takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes c5. And Ding is like, no, I've seen this before. I'm going to play a5. Um, you guys have probably already talked about it, but I want to say great opening for Gukesh. It's just gonna become an interesting game, right? It's looking fine.
Yeah, this opening is generally an opening where white is willing to just maneuver versus playing for an advantage. And there were people in chat. We were still talking about all kinds of things like, the first game and how the people are doing and the surprise of 1e4 from Ding. But some people were saying this knight c3 move, it's so rare, what's it about? And basically, the knight c3 move makes it a lot harder for black to play d5 and makes it harder for white to play d4. So compared to Joko Pianos with c3 knight bd2, the game is a little bit more locked up. It's more like a closed Sicilian than an open Sicilian by analogy, right? And so it's just longer maneuvers for white and black with the pieces and a longer wait for the rooks to get an open file, which also means you see the players hesitating to take on e6 or e3 because whoever does gives the opponent the first open file. So they'll have the only employed rooks in the business.
Yeah. It's nice for Ding though to be in his prep because that would suggest he kind of knows like which exchanges are good and which he shouldn't go for. And now Gukesh has to kind of figure it out on his own. Because there are apparently a lot of positions where you can take on e3 and it's fine, but as black, I'm honestly always kind of scared by it.
Yeah, I mean, often you would go like bishop takes e3, f takes e3, d5 immediately, for example, in a position like this.
Yeah.
But, maybe you'd want to be castled instead of having played h6 when you play d5.
I think this is great for Gukesh. I'm gonna say, actually, if we put the eval bar, I'll put this as equal.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think we have it as equal.
it's kind of moving around. It's doing a little dance that's freaking me out.
Yeah, it bounces. It bounces.
I don't like the bounce.
It's
I don't
just,
like
just
the bounce.
alive. It's alive.
Anyways, it's gonna be complicated. And now he took on c4.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was interesting. Both sides invited a epic Irish pawn structure.
Yeah.
Now Ding is like, okay, I'm gonna take. I don't know if he's gonna take on e3, but he's done this one. Also, I'm not seeing the times. I don't know if you. Sometimes the chess.com is really weird. Sometimes it shows me the times, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
no,
times.
times.
Ding is ahead right now.
Jesse means the times on like the individual moves. Like
Exactly
so he
right.
stopped and think about.
Oh.
I think he thought about d6 after a4, and then he thought about this trade just now.
Oh, there's the game stream. I was watching the FIDE live stream, but there's just a game stream without the engine, without the eval.
Yeah,
Mhm.
with just video, it's awesome.
Great.
So one thing, I don't know if he's just a very ambitious move that I don't believe in here for black, but you could think about it would be bishop b4.
Yeah. We need to calculate that move because he could also have done that without trading on c4. One way or the other, he has this option to go bishop b4 and grab the pawn on a5. And we just
But
have to calculate it.
this one's a little bit more intense because bishop b4, I'm also threatening the knight on e4 now. I mean the pawn on e4.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, bishop b4, knight d5, bishop a5 is maybe suicidal, but maybe just knight takes e4 there. And I can go back to c5.
Wait, my bad. Sorry, I messed something up. Hold on.
All right.
Folks are saying the bounce is distracting. I can't turn off the bounce, folks, without. I would just have to turn off the entire eval bar. I would say though. Let me just say it's not distracting for me because I'm just mainly staring at the board. Like I'm not even watching the bar, and honestly, I don't even notice it. So I would.
Yeah, but they're watching us.
No,
I'm
no, but
watching you guys through the corner of my eye.
No, I see I'm watching our layout, so I see the bar in the corner of my eye, but I'm just laser focused on the board, so my eyes don't even notice the bouncing. So maybe that means you guys are looking at the eval bar a little bit too much. Maybe it's good training not to look over there so much.
No, but anything that's moving, anything that's moving is just distracting attention.
All right. Well, if it annoys enough
Okay.
people, I'll have to just turn it off, basically.
So after knight takes e4, Jesse, c3 for white. Then there's bishop back to c5, huh?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a real hassle in the castle.
And if I take, the knight recaptures. I had in mind, bishop c5, d c5, rook e1, which would be golden.
Now, maybe it's still dangerous, of course. So let's imagine bishop b4, knight d5, knight e4, and then there's moves like queen d3. You could maybe do that. I don't know. But even there, I have knight c5 to e6. It seems fine for black. I don't know what. But let me just say it's one of those moves that looks suspicious, bishop v4, right? It looks like David Proust trying to steal a pawn.
It is. It is.
But if it works, I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And actually, okay. So one of the things, or two of the things I said in the prediction video that came true both came true yesterday, that Ding was, or excuse me, I would say Ding, Gukesh was going to play sidelines and he was going to be capable of tanking in highly tactical positions. Now here, I think this is definitely an example of a position where, yeah, it's time to tank. Now, I think some GMs wouldn't even consider bishop b4 because it just looks too scary. Like
And
something
Gukesh
wrong's
is
going to
not
happen.
one of those GMs.
No.
No, he's not.
Because, I mean, if it works, it works,
Even his opponent has an hour and 58 on the clock, just like blitzing out the moves. And he's like, but maybe in your prep with a computer, you missed that I can take this pawn.
Yeah, I think it's just like naive to go for it with it. The guy's blitzing out. Although
here's maybe
blitzing?
an idea actually for white. Maybe this bishop b4 and then queen d3. He doesn't do it. So then we had a question in chat about the Irish pawn structure. The Irish pawn structure is generally triple pawns, but that other mangled thing was so mangled I was calling it Irish. But if we imagine bishop b4, bishop takes, pawn takes, we have here c5 and rook b1 and yada yada. In addition, though, bishop b4, queen d3, maybe you take on a5 then. I don't know. But that is truly a dangerous position then because of knight d5s. So Gukesh has had enough and he just castles.
All right. He found something wrong with taking it in time.
All right. Ding's playing fast, dude. I would be surprised if all of this were theory for Ding.
I would not be.
You wouldn't be?
No. I feel quite confident that he's in theory right now.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, and he goes b3 quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a prep move.
Yeah.
b3.
Hecta, this stream doesn't have an engine. The one you're on right now.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I'm keeping it even on our human eval bar. It's human controlled.
Toast, you got to get rid of it, but it looks too much like an eval bar, and it's dancing. You know, it's dancing. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can get rid of it. I can get rid of it, but then we just won't have anything. Um, which is fine. But
At some point, these guys are gonna go to sleep probably, and then I'll come on with the
yeah,
real
yeah.
human.
We'll get our dojo widget working.
Now I
Okay.
just want
So
okay.
this position
All right.
is about jamming a knight into d5 or d4, and that knight being so annoying to your opponent that they trade, and then you recapture and you get space with your pawn structure. Right, Jesse?
Yeah. It's if you're gonna claim this is an advantage to white, it is very, I'm gonna say technical. Um, like for example, do I think that okay, like maybe black can't play knight d4 because of knight e5, rook e8, knight d3, and then we're tagging the pawn on c5, maybe. Um, Intuitively, it seems to me that black has to simply be fine, right? Like whether it's rook e8 or some other move, seems like we should just be fine.
A normal move here would be to protect e5 for sure.
Yeah, I think let's say rook e8 is the most natural move, I think, just with the simple intention of playing knight d4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if rook e8, knight d5, does black have knight e4?
Okay, David, let me just create a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the narrative. So let's say rook e8, rook e1, knight d4, knight d5. And the claim will be when you push me out with c6, that it's significant that I get the b6 square. I don't know if that's true, but that just could be a story.
Mm-hmm.
And when I kick you with c3, your knight doesn't have any great squares to go to.
Yeah. I mean, there's the question how good your knight is on b6.
Totally. I'm with you there. Yeah.
I guess you've got knight a4, and you're not stuck on b6 forever. You've got ways to wriggle around.
Exactly. So that structure could be loose for black, and then when white gets c3, he really does push the knight to never land. That's just a story, though. Just trying to come up with a way in which white might have something.
Right. Also, any knight that gets kicked has the option of heading towards f4 or f5, right?
Yeah.
Could also be a tickle for somebody to deal with.
But in that tickle variation, see, black is going to get there first, though, because see, I go rook e8,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you go rook e1. Maybe you got
Yep.
something better.
Reasonable.
I'm going to get to d4 first. So if white's going to have a story of being better here, it has to be, some magic about the way c3 goes down, or, I don't know.
The fact that the c4 pawn is protected and the c5 pawn is not.
Yeah, some story like that. Though let's also say at any point, black could just play b6, and it seems to me you're going to have to undouble those coconuts.
Right. I was thinking b5.
Sure. Yeah, going to be fancy. But that c5 pawn, it's not so easy to get to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't see anything super clear in any of the little lines I'm playing around with myself here.
He's tanking. And yesterday he was way up on time and he still was like in time trouble.
Yep. He'll be in time trouble today as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is more typical of what I expected. The only reason at the beginning he wasn't in time pressure was it seemed like he had some prep going on.
Yeah.
Oh, I have another update for the Twitch audience. By the way, shout out to Twitch, shout out to YouTube. But for the Twitch, we got some new follower emotes featuring some of your favorite players. So you guys can let us know who you're rooting for via emote.
Mhm.
That's some nice. We already had a ding emote, but the GUKESH one, that one's new.
Yeah. If you try and think of like a match strategy against GUKESH, it would make sense to try and get him in time trouble a lot, I think. So you would want to do things like this pawn on a5 that he has to spend a few minutes calculating if he can take it or not. Like any opening line you can prepare with something like that, where he's going to have to calculate for a few minutes and then say, oh, well, and just play a normal move. He's going to give you those. He's going to pay that tribute of 5 minutes every time, checking on everything. So you want to pick openings like that, and also maybe middle games like the one that this is leading to, where it's going to be a long maneuvering game. So you can try and get him, lower on time through a longer process.
If I was in the Ding camp, I would be like, look, we won game one. Let's get a position kind of exactly like this, where it feels equal and incredibly solid. Dude is gonna tank, and we'll just play natural moves, and we'll be safe, and he might implode.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. All right, we've got a variation from chat we could check on, Kostya. Lestrelin giving us rook e8, queen takes queen. Rook a takes queen, and then knight d5.
Mm-hmm.
Knight takes e4. Rook e1, f5, knight c7. And Lestrelin wonders if that is a favorable position, like what our evaluation of that would be.
Wow. Okay. So rook e8. Queen takes queen. Rook takes queen. Knight d5.
And it's very logical, this queen trade, to make the c pawn undefended, right? And then knight d5 has so much more impact.
Yeah. On knight d5, though, I feel like if I was black, I would be taking on d5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
And then this seems okay for me because black can play knight d4 next on either recapture. I think black is totally fine.
Yep.
I think you can just play knight takes e4 too. I don't think there's any problem with that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I just felt like if white's going for this, then probably it's okay for white. So might as well just take on d5 since I know that's safe for me. But I don't really see, the issue here either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the knight c7 position that Lestrelin gave might be slightly better for white. So like Kostya, I would have edited it by trading on d5.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think is interesting about this is like, I think most players would play rook e8 pretty quickly here. That doesn't mean you know exactly what's going to happen, but you're just like, boss, this game is about the knight d4, knight d5 thing, and therefore I must play rook e8. And so let's go. We'll figure out the complications later. Yeah. Because every other move just gives, I mean, it's just a very simple tempo game of who gets to d5 first.
What
And
did you
we're the
guys
one.
think on queen e7?
Queen e7 just seems wrong because you're inviting knight d5.
Yeah, but then black can just take and go knight d4.
So on queen e7, white I think has a pleasant choice between knight d5 and rook e1. It might also be equal, but it's weird to put your queen on the e file because it's going to open.
I mean, I think it's okay because I'm ready to trade and go knight d4. There's lines in the King's Indian where black goes queen e7 and then in response to knight d5 goes back queen d8 and then preparing to play like c6 and kick the knight. So like, I don't know. I think it's okay.
Okay, let me just try it out. So
Yeah.
Queen e7, I'll go knight d5.
So take.
So you're going to take it. And then I'll go c d5.
Say knight d4.
And then let's just say I'm a real weenie and I play c3.
Yeah, I knew you would.
So knight takes. Knight takes
f3, and then white says I got a very small advantage.
Okay, so if you say you have a small advantage, then I'll go knight b5, knight d6.
Okay, I got a small advantage there too.
Okay.
Better there too, Goes, yeah.
But I got the knight on d6.
No. You should get rid of his knight. It's only going to be a little worse for us.
Okay, but that position actually would actually show knight f3, queen f3. Yeah, black's not going to lose right away or nothing, but that would be the example of, I think the best case for this opening is that you get some small edge like this that you can try to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got queen takes d1.
Yeah.
Now yesterday, what I heard from one of the recaps was that Gukesh was unwilling to go into like a bad endgame at any point.
That's true. Well, I was saying that.
You guys felt that as well?
Oh yeah.
But today he's like, nope, and not that this is a bad endgame, but he's like, he's not avoiding the endgame today. Just walks right into it.
I think this is pretty concrete. So the first obvious thing is he's playing on the a5 pawn, and he's saying now that any knight d5, I'm going to play knight takes e4. And that white at least has some questions to figure out. Okay. Okay, so I want to take something back. I thought rook e8 was like an only move, and he came up with this.
Yeah. Yeah, there was another big option there to take the queens off.
Question for you guys: what would you think if this game kind of peters out into a draw?
Oh, it might. I think for Ding, that's not a terrible thing. I also think that the strategy from Gukesh is going to have to be like every game, let's make it go as long as possible, as complicated as possible. Let's wear this guy totally down.
Right.
So if Ding can get a couple short draws, I think that's fantastic for him.
Yeah, I think Ding actually said something I thought very interesting before the match, because they're asking him about how he's like not the favorite. He said like bad results and all this stuff, and he was like, yeah, but like a match is still a match. And I think what he meant was like it's between two people, so it's not like he has to win some tournament ahead of everyone else and score +5. He just has to beat one player over 14 games, Gukesh. And so if that means like one win and 13 draws, that works. That counts. So like, I could see him just trying to be very, very cautious, with the lead.
Yeah.
One thing I want to do more of in our little streams is to play guess the move, and I think this is kind of a hard one to figure out for white.
I've been analyzing rook d5. It's not that good.
We're good. Actually, I think I was looking at rook d5 too, and it's close. It's close. The variation where I didn't make it work was rook d5, knight takes, c takes, knight d4, and then if we could calmly take on e5 and bring our knight to c4 or something, then maybe we have an interesting game. But if we lose the c2 pawn, I think we can forget it.
Yep. All right, good to know that I'm not the only one. You're looking at the same thing as me.
One thing I want to point out is I don't think black's actually threatening anything. So it feels like for a second that black is threatening rook d1, knight takes a5, but of course then just the e5 pawn falls.
Well, and then rook e8 and maybe the e4 pawn.
There's always f4.
There's
Knight
also knight
five.
d7 in there too.
Oh yeah, white doesn't play h3, so I can play g3. Okay.
So for example, if I were just playing blitz here, king f1 would be a move that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to find a different move besides king f1.
You could play rook e1 here as white.
I was just thinking rook e1 to go knight a4. Yeah, it's very well, it's counterintuitive.
But he's going to play knight d4 on you, boss.
But knight d4, maybe I guess takes, c takes, yeah. And that's going to be nothing. So white has to figure out how to deal with this incoming knight d4.
And also even like king f1, knight d4 is a little spicy for black too, for white, for both players, because it could go king f1, knight d4, knight e5, knight c2. Can I just say something? I think the most complicated kind of endgames are knight endgames, and we are headed towards a knight endgame. And people, chess fans generally think endgames are boring and yada yada, but oh my God, the knight endgame, you can really do some deep calculations and you can miss stuff because those knights can do some tricky dances.
Yeah.
And already here, my mind's spinning on the like king f1, knight d4 stuff.
Yeah. Ding is looking like a man who is supposed to have like 0.3 here. And he's like trying to figure out like where's my 0.3?
I've looked for my 0.3 like that many times.
Where's my 0.3, boss?
Give
me my 0.3.
How about knight d5 here? What do we think of that?
But then if I go knight e4,
rook e1,
say knight f6,
knight c7, I guess, and then you have e4. Oh. Oh. Yeah.
So we got to deal with knight d4 somehow.
Knight to e1.
Yeah.
That's a weird move. But then I was thinking rook d4.
Rook d4.
Maybe you could do 91. Maybe I might grow.
If you go rook d4, I have knight d3, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing.
Okay, I'll take it back.
I thought you might go knight d4 to try and get me stuck on e1.
No.
Not let me out to d3.
Yeah, I don't know why I said rook d4. No, but knight e1 is definitely a thought. It's weird though, right? Because black kind of wants to give a tempo to defend the e pawn, and you're going away voluntarily.
Yeah, but I want to play f3 and defend my e pawn that way without coming off the d file. And of course, my big idea is to come knight d3 and have you worry about that c pawn. And I've got knight a4 coming too, so you can't even hold the c pawn. When I play knight e1, you need a very specific answer. Investing ideas asking about knight a4 right away. Knight a4 right away, our feeling would be that black could play knight e4.
Right.
And have, you know, a pretty equal scenario.
Well, black should be better after that. But someday, knight a4 for sure. Someday. Like if David achieved his knight e1 f3 thing, then he could start thinking. Then he could start thinking about knight a4.
Oh yeah. Once I played f3, knight a4 is coming.
Oh, also, David, on knight e1, there's just a simple rook takes d1 then.
Oh, that's a real problem. That's a real bummer.
Captures and threats, huh?
Captures and threats, that's right.
I mean, I recapture on d1, knight takes a5, knight d3. I mean, I'm not going to be down a pawn, I don't think. I'll get it back.
Ooh.
Okay, oh my gosh, rook dc1.
Went the other way.
Wow.
Oh, because on rook e1, black had knight d4, so here there's just no knight d4. But he's not really setting up knight a4. He's just kind of stopping knight d4.
So again, the super obvious move would be rook e8, right? Like, okay, you stop knight d4 for one move.
What's funny about this move is in game one, there was a point where we felt Gukesh had to go passive with rook fc1. And that would have just been admitting that his attack had come to an end, but he's fighting for a draw. He did not. He did not. And this move, rook dc1, feels like, yep, I'm just going to be solid, boss. I don't need to prove anything. I'm just going to sit here for a little bit.
Now, does anyone know what are the draw rules? Are they allowed to offer draws?
Good
I
question.
didn't see any special rules saying they could or couldn't.
Usually in matches, I think they just let them do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about this position. So I think knight d4 is a candidate move, obviously.
Knight d4 anyway with the e pawn hanging.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, I don't know. It's a thought. Yeah, one of the moves. It's going to be complicated. Let's just put it that way. Rook fe8 is a real obvious move to play.
Oh, actually, here's the line, Jesse. Knight d4.
Yeah.
Knight e5. Knight takes e4. Boom. Knight takes e4. Knight check. King f1. Take c1. Take c1. Rook e8. Trying to nail them. Rook fe8. But if it doesn't work, we could try the other. And against f4, there's f6.
Okay, but
Oh, I missed the line. What was it?
So it's after knight takes e5, you take on e4, Kostya. Then you throw the fork, take on c1, and then go rook e8 at the very end.
But I think that's Mr. Skelka might raise his head there, but because on knight takes c1, white can play knight c3.
Okay.
By the way, maybe that's still fine because the knight can sacrifice itself for a pawn, and actually the rooks will be quite active.
Right. Let me try rook e8 first before I have to sack the dude. But nice attempt to skelk him.
I think that position's fine for black, by the way, but in any case, so
we gotta get the moves on the board for folks to follow. Costa, can you show the
Oh, wait, after rook e8, what was it?
So rook dc1. So our first move in knight d4 is the move on the board. Knight e5.
Yeah,
David wants knight e4,
right.
and then knight e4, and then you're talking rook f8 first, David?
no, we play knight check, knight c1.
Okay, king f1, knight c1, and then I was thinking maybe knight c3.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No.
I'm just gonna ask for everyone in chat. What is the skulkum? What do you guys?
Oh, you don't know. Yeah, that's a GM house thing that me and Josh Friedel came up with back in the day. You know, Mr. Skelkum, you don't want to meet that guy.
Well,
Because,
basically,
and this is actually a
it's basically
perfect,
like the Grim Reaper, Kostya. Like once you've seen the Grim Reaper, like when it's time to resign, you've seen Skelkum.
because this is actually a good example of a Skelkum, because you could be calculating and just automatically play rook c1 and think you're doing great, and then the guy Skelkums you with knight c3, and you're like, oh no. But I want to say a lot of times with the two knights against the rooks, a lot of times they're chumps. So for example, here, if we play rook fe8, let's put the knight on f3 for a second. We could change our minds if we want to. And then like a knight b3 or knight d3, they probably might transpose even.
Right.
So yeah, it's still interesting. I don't know. You could claim it. Maybe white has something there. The knights are strong, and the pawns. Great, the pawns are a little weak. I think white's black's fine though. Like knight b3, pawn takes rook d3, rook c1 is probably forced,
Mm-hmm.
and black's fine. Maybe nothing special, but this would be a position I think Gukesh might like. Play c6 at some point here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a cool variation because I think there's going to be a lot of variations like that. It's going to become very tactical. It feels like, I'm sure there's some of these eval commentators out there like, well, I guess it's going to be a draw today. You know, well, yeah, it's over. Blood.
Yeah, I'm more basing that on like Ding's demeanor, but I'm willing to be wrong. I just got the sense that he's like, I don't know, he just wants to set on his point for a couple of games.
Yeah. I also don't like rook dc1. I also don't think I get it. Like,
I actually think, Kostya, that Ding's gonna have a pretty strong incentive to rack up another point or two here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
because a string of draws would help Gukesh to sort of settle and get into the match. You know, like he played very aggressively yesterday, right? He had this sense like there's some weakness with nerves, and I think losing doesn't really settle your nerves generally. So the nerves might still be there. I think he might want to keep pressing.
Yeah.
And I always think back to how Kasparov wanted to extend that match in 84, which is as many draws as possible, like stay alive, like stabilize, stop the bloodshed.
Kosi, let me just try to show a variation here. So imagine rook dc1, so rook fe8.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe whites could think now about knight d5. So the intention would be that if knight e4, knight c7 now comes with tempo, and then I'm going to go back to d5. And I'm going to claim that I'm better. And the rook on e8 is a little bit funky because if he goes back to f8, then he's neglecting the e5 pawn. It goes to e7, he's giving us knight d5 with tempo. So maybe a slightly pleasant position for white that I wouldn't want to be in if I'm calculating this after rook dc1.
Okay. Couple thoughts on this line, Jesse. First of all, when you go knight d5 for the first time,
Yeah.
maybe I trade your knight instead of taking on e4.
Right.
So like knight takes, c takes, knight d4. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay,
yeah,
but I'm gonna play knight takes d4.
yeah. Knight takes d4, sure. Um, I guess I take with the e pawn,
And let's just say if he takes with a c pawn, then maybe I'm a little better with c3.
right?
If
Or maybe,
surprisingly, a situation where
or
the rook,
maybe after c6 it's equal. That would be something to check as
yeah,
well.
we get
This
something
doesn't
check.
work out.
So e takes,
Or
and
e
then
takes, yeah.
I'm probably gonna play rook to e1. Because if I play f3, you want to probably play f5,
I
right?
was gonna play f5.
Yeah, so rook e1.
Okay, rook e1. Okay. Now let's try f5 anyway.
David, I think you're
That's a
getting
little
risky,
risky. A
but
little risky. Let me reflect.
ef, f5, ef.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna reflect.
You should reflect before you move, David.
Yeah, what is this? You want to take back?
I
The
do.
heck? No, I see f5 too. Wait, sorry. Can we go a little bit slower?
Yeah,
Actually,
you can
someone's
go.
asking for overview. I'll quickly run through the game because I'm sure there's others as well that didn't catch the opening moves. But we had e4, which is not Ding Loren's main move, so definitely a special prep. Goes for the Italian, and then this early knight c3 move, which is also considered pretty unusual these days to put the knight there instead of the pawn. Then we got some development trades on c4, some structure stuff. Both sides got their double pawns, b3. And it doesn't seem like much, but Ding was playing this all pretty quickly, and then he started thinking around here. He finds a sneaky move, rook dc1, cover the c pawn in advance, and now Gukesh is thinking because he doesn't have knight d4, because e5 is hanging. But we were just thinking rook e8, and so far we haven't found anything super convincing there.
I thought white might have a tiny edge after rook e8, knight d5.
Okay, I'll try. So rook e8, knight d5. I also take on d5.
Okay, on d5. Okay, c takes.
C takes. And I'll go knight d4. Take.
Well, let me just say I'm not 100% I have to take, because you taking on f3 is not, the end of the world. So by the way, just the claim in these positions for white would be that the damaged pawns are something. Now I'm going to take, but I just want to stress I might play king f. I might come back and play king f1. So knight takes d4.
Mm-hmm. All right. Here I'll think. Um.
My 5 o'clock alarm is going on.
Okay, so I'm gonna go CD4. I'll try CD. C3.
C3.
C6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say a couple obvious things. First thing I want to stress is this is, I think, exactly the kind of thing that Gukesh is trying to calculate right now. I'm still nervous for black here. There's CD is very complicated. I don't understand it, but white could also now play C4, and maybe I'm a little bit better there too.
Yeah. I will say Ding. I have seen him win some very, very marginal like rook end games, like some double rook end games. So
Mhm.
he could be dangerous in like a technical thing. He's pretty patient and precise. Um, yeah, I'm not sure I totally believe it here after c4 still.
And this, by the way, it's really important to think about from like if you turned on the eval bar, it would tell you something. But here as a human, you're just looking at it, you're like, am I in danger? I don't know. You know? Especially from a distance, you'd be like, I don't know.
I guess we could look at this knight d4 line more actually, because this was the two knights line. This one wasn't so. I mean, it's super hard to evaluate these rook versus minor piece positions, I find. So maybe we can look at this again.
I do think the knight d4 is the main move. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it was like 95. This is what we were thinking earlier. 94, 94. And then I thought maybe rook f8 right there was interesting, because there's no knight f3 like in the other line. And this seems like a better version for black. So on f4, it'll be knight e2 check. And then maybe even knight takes f4.
Yeah. How about this, Kosi? I have a weird idea. So on knight d4, how about I just calmly play king f1?
Um,
With the argument that uh, rook d2 won't be anything, and that the pawn on f3 is no big thing. And if you take on f3, you're taking your asset out.
what about takes and knight h5?
Okay, good. I think that's a natural question. My thing there would be, okay. First of all, it's going to be very hairy, the calculations after knight a4. But I guess that's the first move we got to look at. So knight a4.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the obvious, this is the kind of thing where black maybe can drum up something on the king side, but if he doesn't, if he's not fast enough, white's just going to eat all those nasty pawns on the queen side.
Yeah. My instinct's black's okay. I would start with rook d6 here.
All right, rook d1.
Let's say
Maybe rook d8 you could get away
rook
with.
d8, yeah.
Rook takes rook.
Mm-hmm. Take with rook.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to start eating those bad boys now. Knight c5.
Okay.
I'm just going to say this looks very dangerous for black because I'm going to take on b7, go back to c5.
Yeah, it's not a ton of play with the rook for black.
So maybe that's an idea. Knight d4, king f1. I don't, it's at least interesting to pose some questions to black. And the narrative here is that my knight d5 is cool, but that also this, you have to be on the watch for the knight a4. Because it's when I get there, I'm not just winning a pawn. It's an epic square for the knight if I get it to c5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So rook dc1 looked like a sad move, but it is posing some problems. We've thought about knight d4, Rook Fe8. And both of those moves, it's not like either of them lose or anything like that. It's just maybe white can pose some problems. Is there any other candidate moves we need to talk about?
People mention in G5, guys, honestly, I didn't even did not consider G5 for even a second.
Yeah. So what they want with G5 is they want to push the F3 knight away and then get D4 or something. But if you just imagine G5, G4, then the knight goes H4 to F5, and it's, if that white knight gets to F5 with the pawn on G5 or G4, that's pretty good for white. But okay, but we'll list it as a candidate move, G5. Didn't cross my mind either.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see it. Rook Fe8 for me feels natural. Knight D4 doesn't seem too bad either, as long as you're okay with this knight takes C5 line.
Okay, I really probably shouldn't mention this, but then we have the reverso move with Rook D4.
But it doesn't work, right?
Well, first of all, I'm not even sure it threatens anything, but but okay, but are you just gonna? No, it's not gonna work. I don't think. Probably not. No. Okay, that's just. I'm just playing with ideas.
How about the move Rook D6 here if we need a different candidate move?
Yeah, I thought about Rook D6. I wasn't quite sure what we're doing, but we can think about Rook D6.
I mean, we're trying to say, there's a mutually open file. You just stepped off it. Maybe it's worth something.
Okay. I was thinking that, first of all, there might be other ideas for white, but the basic one could be King F1 and say, well, what are you doing? This Rook DC1, actually, maybe I'll just pause for a second. I remember the first times when I was going over Fisher's games and there was an open D file, and it was like both rooks were on like D8 and D1. There's a couple games where he just goes back to E8. He's like, Rook E8, baby, Rook E8. It's a little bit similar where it's a high level thing where we're claiming the D file that don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's tanking good, man. We got at least 15, 20 minutes going on here.
Yes, Cubics 91 has made an appearance as a possible maneuver for white in general. We've got another suggestion of a different approach from black. Knight B4 with the idea of B6, but knight B4, I guess knight E5, rook E8.
Oh, I have another idea.
I want to, okay, let me just say one thing real quick. A knight D4, King F1, black doesn't have to do anything. Just play like Rook Fe8 there.
Right.
And be like, Bouse, what is it that you want with me?
I have an idea, and guys, just tell me what's wrong with it, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
you tell me.
Rook C8.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what's wrong, because we don't make those kinds of moves on the dojo.
What do you mean we don't make this kind of... Look who we're dealing with.
That's just not what we do.
He just played Rook DC1. Why can't I go Rook C8? Explain to me why.
Your problem is the C5 pawn.
But I'm stopping Knight D5.
But your problem
what
is the c5 pawn. He's playing knight a4 at some point, not knight d5.
But how is knight a4 happening?
Or he's playing knight d1, knight d3.
shouldn't we just answer this in just general terms about pride and self, I don't know,
No, it's not about that, Jesse. It's
feeling of
about the
self-worth?
difference between white's position and black's position. They're slightly different.
Okay, no, I'm just saying Rook C8 doesn't do it. But okay, it's Kende move. I did ask for all the weird moves. Because he is thinking about weird stuff.
I'm not saying I would play it.
But you thought about it.
This is just like, it stops knight d5.
If you wanted to, you could play Rook D7. That might be, if you wanted to really think about the pawn, you could play knight D5, Rook D7.
Yeah. So currently Gukesh has his eyes closed, by the way, and he's leaning back with his eyes closed.
I was thinking of closing my eyes too.
Yeah, he does that. This is common, dude. He has like a just very intense ability to calculate with his eyes closed. It's impressive, dude. When I think that's how David became such a fanboy, because he just sits there and he's got full concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And the chumps think he's sleeping. He ain't sleeping. That boy isn't sleeping. He's looking at Rook Fe8, Knight D4, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I get a feeling he juggles the pieces very freely in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just put a link in the chat for the live stream for anyone who's curious. It's just the video of the players.
Yeah.
No compy. You're in there with them, guys.
Yeah.
2024, Singapore.
Yeah, Gukesh lost 6 rating points yesterday, dude. Rough. And Ding moved back into the top 20.
All right.
Yeah, we were talking about how he moved. That was back in the top 20. Ding, all right, buddy.
It's a world championship match.
Maybe Ding can farm him for rating back all the way to the top.
Nonsense. Look, it's a world championship match. It's not about $200,000 a game. It's not about 6 rating points a game. It's about
Are you kidding me?
the world championship match. That's it.
To be back in the top 20 and for us to stop calling him number 23, dude, that's huge.
Yeah, the other interesting thing I found about Ding in his interviews is that he's actually like paying attention to like a lot of chess media. Like he was aware, obviously, that like everyone's calling him a big underdog. Like Magnus was calling him an underdog. All these other pundits. So he's kind of like aware of it all. So I don't know if it affects him, but
yeah, he might be world champion, but he also has the internet. Wow.
He's got access. You guys know I talked to him briefly in St. Louis when he was here for Singfield Cup, and he told me that he watched one of my recaps. So,
there we go.
That just shows you the level of, YouTube. He's going down.
I've watched one of your recaps. It was really good.
Oh, thank you. You know me. So he's online. He's on the internet.
Yeah. But honestly, that makes me less likely to watch your recaps because I'm just like, I can just talk to him. I don't have to watch the recap with everyone else. I get a personal recap.
Exactly.
All right, you guys, I'm going to say he's about to play knight d4. No, he's going to play knight d4.
But let's look at this rook d6 move. We haven't looked at it too much, and I think there might be some interest in it. It's a very different move than everything else we've looked at. So rook d7 has several ideas. One idea is to be able to play knight d7 and defend your pawns without getting pinned on the d file, right? Without losing control of the d file yourself. Another idea is in some lines to go towards the king side, rook f6, rook g6, and of course the third idea is you double rooks on the d file and then you try to get in.
Okay. And so if I play, let's just say I sit and play king f1. What do you want to do then?
Okay. You sit with king f1. All right. I will double.
So one thing about this Rook D6 variation, it's kind of like white can do things when black goes for it. But here, black's, I don't know, he's just kind of sitting. So what is white actually want to do?
Yeah. I'm thinking of going for something, maybe, but you don't know if I will.
Well, you did go knight d4.
There we go. Welcome to the dojo. I think that's a good move.
Wow, Ding's just starting the game. He's got an hour and 45.
Yeah.
Just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Gukesh and us were already tired.
Okay, so just to review what our thoughts are. Our thoughts are is that on 95, 94, it might be a little complicated, but it looks fine for black. And that if white does a building move like king f1, then probably just rook fe8, just to hold the pawn. No need to go loco. So what black can say here with knight d4 is we are just we're just achieving the dream, and it's better for us to leave it there than even take on f3. I think. I don't think there's like taking on f3 is not that impressive. So I still like king f1 for white.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some other idea though. Maybe I don't like the look of 91, but I guess you could put it as a candidate move. One bummer about 91, by the way, is when you play then knight d3, there's no knight d3 because the knight takes b3. So that's a little bummer. I don't know how significant.
Yeah, that's pretty lame. It's definitely what we want to play after 91 is knight d3 at some point.
All right.
The 95 line's a little bit complicated. We've looked at it a couple times, but
Yeah, last
like
we checked, it was take
rook e8.
Take on e4, knight e4, and then I thought rook e8 first.
Yeah. I like knight e2 first, but maybe rook e8 might work too. Sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, this seemed to be working for black.
Actually, I mean, yeah, if you see, you don't have to be so complicated with 98. You just, or 92 right here. You just rook e8 and you're fine. That's fair. Yeah, no need to be fancy.
So king f1, currently our main move to stop all these 92 checks.
And against king f1, white might be threatening knight takes e5, so black may not have 100 options there.
That's why I was thinking king f1, rook fe8 feels like the main posizione.
Yeah.
Right. Also makes it harder for white to ever go knight d4 again, so yeah, it makes sense.
One argument, by the way, is maybe black's a smidge better here. Maybe black's just a touch better.
There's a question about Ding, and Ding from today's game. I don't know about yesterday's game. Today's game, he's definitely been at the board a lot, way more than the last match with Nepo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys follow yesterday? Was he at the board a lot?
Yeah, and in his comments, he said it was a good sign.
Nice.
He said I was at the board a lot, different than last year. Feels much better.
Do you guys know if there's a couch in the players' room?
Oh yeah, they got to better have a. Oh, that was that was the last time there was the great couch debate. I had forgotten, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, remember in chat, people were saying they should take away the couch.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
So
crazy
that's why Coach was
chatters.
asking if there is one, because there were some mean people last time around.
Because I saw an image on Twitter of Ding in the resting area, and he was like standing, and there was like an
Yeah,
armchair, but there was no comfy couch.
yeah,
So
I
they
saw
must
that.
have learned from their mistakes last time.
What was the problem with the couch?
It's too
What was the
comfortable. You can just sit on the couch and just watch the game from the screen, and so there's no incentive to sit on the stage in front of your opponent.
But there was some other thing that the fans were like, if you didn't, I think we even said it. We're like, if you didn't have the couch, then X or something.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
I
remember.
said it. I said just like take the couch out of the room, and then there's like nowhere to sit, and then they just wouldn't stay in there that long. Two armchairs. Yeah, smart.
Well, I wish we could get that eval bar going, Kosi. I want to put black as just a smidge better. It's important. I want to give me a little smidge.
Yeah. Well, we have the let's see, we had this like makeshift one from the candidates, but I don't even remember. I think it was in a Google sheet. Must have been. Let me see. Let me see if I can
You
find
can't
it.
get DM Hokies one working, boss?
I
It
tried it
works the
earlier. I
best for
mean,
me.
yeah, it just wasn't showing up.
Oh man.
And then it was kind of crashing my computer. Yeah, we still have this doc. We could use this. Hold on, I'll send you guys. And then we
I'm
could
already in the doc,
we could
I think.
crop
Yeah,
this in.
you'll see Kosi in the standings bar. I made a little thing. You see, there's a third tab there called standings.
Ooh, nice.
I made a little thing for Ding Gukesh for the 14 games as the match goes along.
Yeah, that'd be really useful. You can definitely
Yeah, I mean, I saw you'd already made your own cool thing, so I didn't mention it to you, but I was going to put it maybe under my board where
nice.
you already put the match score. So
Yeah, I think that's better because that shows people the progression too.
yeah, at
So
some point. Right now we're in game two. I think what you've got is sufficiently clear.
so we got to write it out where it says current eval.
Yeah, so
We
you
got to
put your eval down and then it should average. Yeah, it still works. Wow. All right, hold on. Let me crop this real quick. All right, folks. The Sensei eval bar is coming back.
And so, David, that you have zero there?
I have 0.
Okay.
You want me to put 0.00?
No, no, no. I just wanted to make sure that that was your actual thing.
I'll try and make it clear. Oh, no, it only displays the
No,
0.
no, you can. That's fine. It's fine.
All right, now where am I gonna fit this thing?
There. I got it to show the point zeros.
And so, Kosi, you feel it's like a smidge better for white?
Um, yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
Isn't that where we last left off? Like King F1, Knight
Well,
F3,
King
GF,
F1, I think King F1 Knight F3 is good for white, but King F1 Rook FE8 definitely seems better for black.
and then you think, yeah, I'm just a little puzzled on how Ding got into this. Then
Well, he played moves like Rook DC1, buddy. He played moves like Rook DC1. It might look cool, but come on, bud.
I
Come
think
on,
Rook C1's a great move.
uh-huh.
yeah, it looked good.
Minus 0.3 from Jesse. That's madness. Madness.
I mean, minus 0.3, that's like the effect. That's like an opening advantage. That's like being
Yeah.
white. Like it's not that much. It's just a smidge.
No, it's quite a bit nowadays. 0.3. Oh, he's fine.
But I don't got no real estate.
That C pawn is a worry. That pawn on C5 is a bit of a worry.
Oh, wait, here we go. All right, you know what? I got the solution. Easy. Never mind. My bad. Thank you, Nigel, for the
David should
tip.
be a GM. I'll gift 100 subs when he gets it smile.
Woohoo.
Who needs to become a GM, Kostya?
You do, bud.
David.
Me. Oof.
David. He's promised us 100 subs when you get it.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got the Sensei eval up, but let's see, the measurements on this thing are a bit weird because it's showing like increments in 0.05, which makes the advantage seem much bigger than it is. The average eval is minus 0.07.
Yeah.
So let me figure out. It's probably some settings thing.
But it's just adjusting because it's so minute, it's just adjusting.
Right. But
It's okay. Okay, as long as people understand that it's not 0.5 that we're saying, but rather, or it's not 0.5 that we're saying, it's 0.05.
yeah, I kind of want to fix the the thing so that it just shows like +1, +2, +3. Does anyone know in Sheets how would you do this? How would you customize the chart?
Well, David, while he's doing that, why don't you tell me how white achieves equality?
I mean, King F1, like you said.
Okay, so King F1, Rook FE8.
Okay. So there's no 91, 93, huh? Okay, I'll play 91 anyway for white.
Okay. Now, let me just say that when we say something like this is better for black, it's mostly just because my knight's there and yours isn't, right? But I do want to stress that this move here for black is a difficult choice. So for example, I can play C6 to keep your knight out forever, but then eventually, obviously, the problem is my C5. White can't actually get at my pawn too quickly, but maybe eventually, like he could dream of F3 and then knight A4.
That's what I'm about to do.
So black needs or wants something nice.
Something to do, something nice. 91's been played. In the game, Jesse.
Okay, 91.
And then Rook D6. Quickly. Finally,
yeah.
a quick move from GUKESH. Rook D6. He saw 91 coming.
Okay, let's try to imagine then. So if you play 91, your intention, I think, is usually going to be F3.
Yeah, F3, knight A4. So, I mean, if you know white's going to go F3, that G5 move becomes more interesting in the sense that I don't want to spend the whole game just defending that stupid pawn on C5, Jesse. I want some kind of counterplay, right? And white's given the D file.
Okay, but why did we
wait?
But wait, give your boy some credit. He played Rook D6 for some reason. What was it?
I am giving him credit. I'm saying I want counterplay. This Rook D6 is totally within the scheme of moves I want to play as black. And I think it goes well with the idea of expanding pawns on the king side, potentially. I'm just saying if my opponent goes F3, I might want to play G5, G4.
Okay, I'm just trying to discern. He has a deeper idea, I feel, with Rook D6, and I don't know what it is. G5, G4, maybe. I don't quite get it yet. Maybe.
I also have the idea of knight H5.
Because let's say something obvious for the fans. And David. After F3, White has a simple plan of king F2 and then knight A4.
Yes.
And or knight D5. Both of them look kind of annoying.
Knight A4 looks the more annoying.
Yeah. So I think, but so Rook D6 has some idea against F3, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
But let me just state the obvious. I already told you the idea.
No, I don't believe it though. I don't believe it.
Okay, I think I got the bar up. Thank you, How Long, for the tip. So I got it to now have normal measurements. So you guys can see our eval is basically equal. With a tiny, tiny sliver, you can tell it's for black.
Yeah.
One idea, David, after F3, which feels more logical, is if you're going to play Rook D6, your idea would be Rook D8. Oh, I think a move was made. King F1 was played.
King
Yeah.
F1.
So this is kind of transposing a little bit back to where I was.
Totally. But he's not committing to F3 for one extra move because once he plays F3, it's kind of go on G5, G4.
I don't believe that for half a second. But
I know you don't.
He's gonna have to play.
You.
By the way, you're gonna have to play F3 someday anyway. You know, you're gonna have to play F3.
Yeah.
And for the fans, we want to say the reason knight D3 is hard is because of knight B3. So it's hard to arrange that. Okay, I think, I don't know about this, David. I think the idea is, for black, is now we are truly going to be playing for the D file. And our claim is, okay, so he David, we're all wrong, bro. He plays G6.
That's a surprise. You know, I was calculating something quite funky here, Jesse.
Okay, wait, but we have to just admit to ourselves that we do not understand Gukesh's last two moves. They are maybe high-level genius, but we don't get it.
Yeah.
Because definitely nobody predicted G6.
Yeah. Icy would have done G6 last move. So Icy, tell us why you would have played G6. Not knight D3 here because of knight takes B3. White will have to defend B3 in advance if they ever want to go knight D3.
Now, some people in chat, or one person at least, is talking about F5. Maybe. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but maybe.
Yeah, that's Thomas Rendell and IM who was with us yesterday as well. My first thought seeing G6 was also that it would be F5, but I was just curious. Icy wanted to play G6 already a move or two ago, so I was curious what Icy's reasoning was.
F5 is growing on me, dude. So let's talk about it as a conception. The Rook on D6 will allow the knight, if needed, to go back to D7. It will do cool stuff on the third rank. And this might be a true genius move. And F3 might have been better than King F1. because king f1 now is really setting yourself up to get body slammed on the f file. Oh, g6 is interesting. Okay, so there we go. There's a move I totally that wasn't on my radar at all. g6.
Yeah, me
Okay,
neither.
this is fun. Okay.
Me neither.
See,
But
when Gukesh tanks, dude, he comes up with an idea. No, mortals sometimes don't come up with an idea. They just sit there.
I'll tell you the weird move I was calculating last move instead of g6 was knight to g4. And I had sort of come to the conclusion that it would make white play h3.
Right.
And then I would head back knight f6, knight h5. But the key trick was that if white goes f3, I have knight e3 check and then take on c2. So like king f2, knight e takes c2 seemed to be sound.
Yeah. Oh wait, I gotta go back here. Yeah.
But yeah, it is a lot of time just to get white to play h3. But the idea as well is that at some point knight a4 is going to happen and I want to have counterplay, right? So I'm kind of looking at the king side as my strong side. That means I want to provoke some pawn moves or some weaknesses there from white or make some pawn moves there myself, get something engaged.
All right, so do we have agreement that the idea would be, just as an example, so let's say f3 for white. We could argue about it, but then I just want to make sure I understand what black's idea is. So then knight d7.
Knight d7, yeah, or h5. But
okay,
you can play knight d7 for now just to try something out.
Well, knight d7 holds all my coconuts, and it also says that on knight d5 that's just a chump move because I'm going to play c6.
Yeah.
So also now with the rook on d6, we are still preventing knight d3 because of knight takes b3. And we're claiming that this f5 is going to be a big deal. Now, is it a big deal? Good question. Good question. Maybe not. I don't know. But it definitely seems I want to be black here. It feels dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. You got f5 coming. Your rook is playing. White's rook is on a1. Seems like black shouldn't be worse.
Oh, dude, he's schooling me here. G6 was a nice move. All right, you guys better revisit that human eval bar.
I'm going to leave it at 0.0 for now.
I'll downgrade it to 0 as well.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like, maybe I'll go down further. Maybe I'll go 0.2. I just want this bar to do something, because we got very big measurements.
Be patient, Ghosty. It's classical chess. The bar will do something eventually. Just know that it will.
There we go.
Just know that it will. You and I might be asleep by then, and then Jess.
Oh, I know what the problem
is. Wherever he wants.
Wait. Here's the problem with this bar. That's whoever created this. It should only go to 2 on either side. It's going all the way to 4. We're not interested in 4. We're only.
You think 2?
Yeah. So if it only went to 2, it would be a lot clearer.
I could do 2. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Is that something you can set in the settings?
Yeah, he can.
Oh, that's
he's learned how. Ghosty has learned something today.
Yeah, set it to 2, and that'll give us more gradation.
Chat GPT taught me, and by that I mean our Twitch chat.
Twitch chat.
Or it might have been YouTube actually. All right, it's a little better now. That's a little small guy.
Now we see a little nudge. Little nudge. All right. So, by the way, they're at move 16 out of 40. No increment. 24 moves to go. Ding Liren's time is fine. Gukesh is only slightly low. now. White really needs knight d3. Like, if that dude sits on e1 forever, that's not going to be correct, right?
Yeah.
That piece has got to get back up, dust itself off, and get off the back rank. And not only does white have to watch out for knight takes b3, but white has to also watch out for knight c2. So we really have to time this knight d3 move. I think rook a b1 might be enough to do it.
Okay, let's do that as an example. So rook a b1. Let's go knight d7, just to see if we can follow the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Then you want knight d3, but you can't because then knight c2.
Right, you've covered c5 and e5, right? So I can't again.
That's what I feel is so genius about rook d6 and this coordination of the knight going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Dang, Gookie Boy can play.
So the thing about g6, right, it's also claiming that white has fundamentally no very useful moves. I still feel like f3 is going to have to happen, but it's kind of similar. So f3, knight d7. And I don't, it's hard for white to find a move. One of the things about the human eval bar too is like, for me, it's a big deal in evaluating the position of like who has more grief to solve. And definitely here, black is the one who just found an idea, and white is the one who has to respond to it. So it's like, from the perspective of like who's going to win kind of eval kind of thing, then definitely that raises my human eval bar for black.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jesse, we've got this rook a b1 knight d7 variation, right? We didn't get super far with it.
Okay.
But I want to try rook a b1 knight d7 knight a4.
Okay, let's just continue with the potatoes, f5.
Okay. Aye. All right, I'm going to take it.
Okay, so now I think I have two moves here, both gf and maybe rook takes f5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even knight takes f5, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see you doing anything. That's why I'm not calculating anything yet. Conserving my energy / minutes of being awake.
All right, David, let's just say I play let's call it the positional move, gf, because I just want to know what you want to do to me.
I'm bringing my knight to d3. Immediately.
But there was the knight c2 thing. We're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm going to take on c5 then.
Yeah.
All right, so David, I'm going to play knight e6.
Okay. All right. Okay.
There's also b6 there, kind of interesting.
B6 maybe is a thought too. But I was thinking with knight e6, I wanted to control f4, so I'm threatening e4 now.
Nice.
We want to send him back home.
Yeah. And this knight said, I'm never going back to e1. I'd rather die.
Yeah, absolutely, Sushan. Trend seems to be shifting in black's favor, as you can see from our handy-dandy Sensei eval.
Oh, Coach just drifting down a little bit. David still hasn't yet to admit it that black's a little bit on top here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm still piecing it together.
Yeah, we're Jesse. We're always behind. First, you find it, then the players find it, and then we finally understand it later.
And honestly, it's a move like that you know, shows the difference between a chump GM and a super GM. Wasn't even thinking about G6, dude.
If he played G6, he's going to play GF. I think you played this correctly, Jesse.
Now, my sense would be for white, if I was going to play this as white, is still I'm going to probably play f3, and then when you play f5, I'm just going to sit.
Mm-hmm. So I think that position that we just got to was good for black.
Okay.
And my knight d3 with rook b1 thing, it didn't work out. I also had in mind that after rook b1, if black wanted to, they could play knight c6 and maybe straight up get a repetition,
Go for the
which
novel.
shows pretty good control for black at the position if white can't do anything. All right.
But knight c6 would allow knight d3 there.
Is that right?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ding's starting to feel uncomfortable. He's fidgety. He's looking around a lot. He's very fidgety.
I think he's been fidgety from the start. And I just want to say, we talked a little bit about his confidence in our preview, and that first phase of yesterday's game, it just seemed like he was going to get wiped out because he was totally unconfident. He was spending forever on moves he shouldn't have been spending forever on. And he hit his form kind of in the middle of it, But even when he was winning, he was oh man, the fidgets were extraordinary. I mean, first of all, you got a winning position, you're going to fidget some anyway, but the confidence, he doesn't feel like a confident player. You look at Gukesh doing his meditation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the look of a confident man, my friend.
Yeah, Gukesh very calm. He seems unfazed, undaunted, unbothered by the loss yesterday. I was thinking, Ding winning that game, I mean, it could be the worst thing for his match because every time Gukesh loses a big game, he just comes back stronger. Happened in the candidates, it's happened in the Olympiad. So, you have to be very careful before.
You're going to have to beat him. You're going to have to beat
But
him.
yeah, I mean, there's no way around it in a match. You got to beat him, and then.
Yeah, but maybe save. I would have saved it for the last game. If I was Ding, rather than win the first game, try to draw the next 13. I would have drawn the first 13 and then try to win the last game. That would have been my strat.
Okay. Well, next time maybe he'll hire you instead of report.
Yeah, maybe I'm available.
One thing I want to say is, if white decides on f3 here, then I think it's clear that king f1 was inaccurate, because then you're going to probably want to put the king on f2 someday. And so that would be an example just of Ding also not seeing g6 coming. Now, by the way, this move f3 would be just the kind of way to sit on the position. Because if you imagine like f3, knight d7, king f2, f5, let's say king e3, black has a lot of different plans there, but it's not clear that if black could actually, I think he's better, but that would be the way for white to just sit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, did you see that eval bar go down?
Oh. It's inching. Wow.
They're coming around. They're coming around.
Yeah. Takes a while to understand.
And I'm almost ready to move it down a little further, but I kind of want to, I'm just looking at different plans for white, because part of the problem here is, even if we think black is better, it's maybe the bigger issue is white has to come up with a plan, and it's not, there's kind of a wide choice here. Because it's going to take a while before, black has at least two or three moves before he even creates a threat. It's just that we're mobilizing our business,
Well, Jesse, can I borrow your lane for a second? and
Okay.
say something obvious, which is if that knight sits on e1 for the rest of the game, that's a major problem. Like knights on the rim have that whole saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But knights on the first rank, it's the same thing, right? They've got half of their moves, half of their maneuverability, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
mean, that
boss,
knight sits on
that's
e1
why on move 14, I was like knight d4. You got to say black is a little bit better just on general principles. It wasn't like some calculation I did. I was like, oh, I'm looking at the pieces.
Well, see, at that time, I still thought white could just leave the knight on f3, and that if black traded on f3, it was no big deal for white.
Right,
I believed
right.
you on that. Now, knight e1 was my big idea for white,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see how to play knight d3. And now the knight's on e1. I mean, I'm not seeing anything better than knight coming back to f3 and saying, excuse me, can we get back to that gf3 thing?
Yeah, but like I don't think we ever take on f3
Mm-hmm.
unless it's advantageous, you know.
True. There's not much forcing that capture anymore.
Right. And oh, yeah. But honestly, you know, when you put yourself in white shoes, it's difficult. So it's f3, some kind of knight f3, some kind of rook ab1. You know, it's not easy. And also, David, with my f3 move, where you're claiming you're going to sit on the position, yes, you've just inherited a long-term problem where the knight on e1 has lost one of its squares.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, then it's like starting to get trapped, and we're in no position to be playing g3 as well, right?
Right.
c2 is occupied. So, I mean, we're really getting close to trapping that knight on e1.
And I think, by the way, I think part of the intuition which led him to come up with this amazing G6 plan is that our side of the board now is the king side. And I think for most chump GMs, it just felt like, well, if I'm going to have something, it's with some kind of active piece play. But no, he's like, no, I'm just going to put a long-term push against the king side because your coconuts are not there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that much I think we understood that black should play on the king side, right? But g6, waiting to move the knight, slowly preparing f5, you know, also like he'll just play a move like king g7, just creeping. I think g6, he's played a move that we didn't see coming, right? So that's,
Oh, yeah.
let me add that to my point about yesterday, you know, where a lot of people were saying like, you know, Ding is back and all that. And that it's such a brilliant game. Like every move he played yesterday, you did see it coming, right? And G6 here, we did not see it coming. To me, that's another level, right? These guys are capable of playing moves that we don't see coming.
Mm-hmm. A question in the chat. Can we explain why f4 isn't a strong move? So f4, oh, Kostya, we got turned on to a new move, a new word yesterday, man, called cheapo merchant.
Right.
Cheapo merchant. And so f4, I guess to me is an example of a cheapo merchant move. So intending EF, E5. But there, black can do all kinds of things, and white's playing on the wrong side of the board. So
Wrong side of the board.
if
Death
nothing else, there's knight D7, but there's probably going to be something else too.
There's got to be something even stronger than that, I feel like. When white plays f4, can you play rook e8 and go after that e pawn that they've just...
But knight D7 is also very powerful. It's not just a chump move. I'm going to
you're
play
gonna
F5.
You're going to play f5. You're not just chump. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking knight g4 and then David's idea of knight e3 check, knight takes c2.
Yeah.
It's on the table.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why
knight g4 looks super powerful as well there. Oof.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, f4 would be an example. Actually, it's good to talk about because it shows that that's not white side of the board. What we mean by that is just that there's not that much. Do you think about the force count? Black has a much higher force count that's able to go to the king side. Oh yeah, this is a hard one. Okay, here's the thing.
That's a very good lesson. I mean, f4, you can understand how somebody who's just learning how to use tactical juice would come up with the move. And sometimes people are tempted to play moves in the wrong area because of a tactical pattern, right? And then there needs to be another level of calculation to find the refutation and say, yeah, I know there's something here because it's the wrong area. So very instructive, this F4 move.
Now someone is laughing at us in chat for also not seeing Rook DC1, but you know, I'm kind of proud that I didn't see Rook DC1. I'm kind of proud I didn't see that move, you know. I'm totally fine with not seeing that one. I'm okay with that. In fact, I would say, like, yeah, Rook AD8, the position, I don't know exactly what white should do, but it's got to be equal. After Rook DC1, Knight D4, I'm like, well, black is now a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Rook D6, G6, those are star moves, man. And but let me just stress one of the things that I find so admirable about Gukesh. When most chumps think forever on a move, it's usually they don't come up with a good move then, right? But either they see a potential plan in the first couple bits or they don't. But a lot of times you're just spinning your wheels there. But Gukesh will think forever and actually find something. All right, we got a move on the board. That's Rook D1.
Rook
Coming
D1.
back. Coming back, unwinding what he's wrought. Trying to take it all back.
Okay, so I think our first question should be, what is white's intention on the natural move, which I guess, to my mind, would be Knight D7?
Knight D7, maybe Knight D5. Moving some force count towards the king side.
So you want to go Knight E3 next?
Yeah, and also what C6 is going to do is it's going to undefend your rook, so then you'll have to just take C3 into account at all times.
Okay, good. I think, yeah, that's helpful. That helps maybe explain what Rook D1 is about. Let's just show that quickly, David. So C6, Knight E3, and now the C3 is a bigger deal. Okay, all right, good. So Rook D1 maybe is kind of clever that way. My chess comp site isn't showing it, but can you guys tell me how long you thought on Rook D1?
It was a while, but yeah, I don't see it.
Actually, maybe I can find out.
Chat saying 23 minutes. I definitely thought it was 20-ish.
Now we got a comment in chat that's saying yesterday he played badly after the long thing. And I just want to say, actually, his position was already pretty shite by the time he was doing some long things. Well, Simon, your variation with Knight D7, the problem is what David showed. At least that's what White's idea with Rook D1 is that on Knight D7 now, which we believe strongly was Gukesh's intention anyway, we're trying to make that hurt by playing Knight D5 then. To make it hurt so good. Sometimes the love don't feel like it should. You make it hurt so good.
Ooh, other question, Jesse. after rook d1, like live position, if it were white's move, could white now play knight d3?
And then knight c2, what would
With the idea of like knight c2, rook a c1, and then take either c5 or e5 with the knight on d3.
I don't know, maybe, but there's a lot of, I'm gonna bounce back and hit b3 and stuff.
Yeah, when I go knight c5, I'm hoping that I'm defending b3, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and against rook ac1, rook fd8, I was hoping to still take on c5. Maybe trade all the rooks on d1 and survive. I'm just getting that knight off of e1.
Okay, rook fd8 has been played. And I wish I had said it. I promise you I was about to say it. So rook d1 forces black to switch up the plans a little bit. But rook fd8, of course, makes sense because now that the rook's on d1, we might get some more tactics on the d file going. Like there's friction now on the d file.
A little friction.
A little friction we got. And at some point soon, we might even play c6.
Black's not committed to f5. Maybe black can sort of double up on the d file and get ready for the friction.
Well, right. I mean, white's the one who changed the nature of the game with rook d1. So let's just say f3 for a second and imagine what black would do.
Maybe knight back to c6.
But if you go back to c6, Kostya, I could take and then bring the knight to d3, and then it's all the dreams are over.
Black can take with the pawn, and then white's dreams are over.
What do you mean?
Well, because the knight on d3 then is going to be all bad.
What do you mean?
You're taking on d6?
Well, as an example, sure. I think I could play knight d3 too, but...
And then, so I'd maybe take with the pawn.
Oh, okay. I mean, but white has every reason to be happy here now. Before, I think black is better. I want better.
Yeah. I'm still operating from like, I think black's okay. I don't really know if black's like better.
Well, let's just try to find an idea. That's all I'm saying. After, I think was f3 played? It kind of looks like f3 was played.
Yeah.
All right, I called that one, baby. Now, I don't know yet what black should do, so let's take a moment, Tito.
He did go rook fd8.
What do you mean he did go rook fd8? We know that.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm saying now f3 was played, and I don't know yet what the intention is for black.
Okay.
I don't have a nice super move or something for him.
I hadn't seen that rook fd8 was official yet, so that I hadn't given myself a point for that move yet.
Oh, got it. Get them points.
So, Jesse, there was talk that we can count this World Championship commentary for our heat map. Is that correct?
Well, Jack was giving me a lot of grief, dude. He was like, that doesn't count for the heat map. And I was like, dude, we have classic games as part of our program. Why wouldn't this count? And he was, I don't know, he has a real attitude about it. And I was like, please, Jack.
He said not everybody's working hard while they do this, while they're watching the game.
But what about me, Jack? I feel like I'm working pretty hard, buddy.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you know that you're doing sweat work, then, that's maybe
Well, for us, I mean, it's not really passive. We're analyzing a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're either sweating or it doesn't count. That's reasonable.
Maybe if you have a scene switch, Kosti, you could show Lasanok what is a heat map, because that's the Dojo heat map, man. We got something amazing.
Yeah, actually, I'd be happy to. In fact, folks, I wanted to mention this earlier. We're running a deal for 20% off to join the training program, which if you're not familiar, we've got this online site. It's a great way to focus on your chess improvement because we've got the plan, the tools, and the community you need to get better at chess. Let me see if I can bring up just a very quick preview of the heat map, because this has been exciting. This has single-handedly revolutionized and almost tore down the dojo because of the vicious disagreements we've had on this thing.
We went from people just hanging out on Twitch, looking at some chess moves, to some full-fledged weird tech company with interminable meetings and arguments.
Yeah, because I guess people don't realize, there's like, okay, there's all these great monuments in the world that people died during the building of, and there's all these great achievements where there's a lot of
the World Cup,
the
World Cup arenas in Dubai, right, or wherever it was held, Qatar.
For instance,
Jesse will know more about it than us.
Yeah, but here
football fan expert.
I got an idea for black, by the way. Let me just call it out before he plays it.
Okay.
I think we could get away here with knight h5.
Ooh.
And the point is that I'm not going to overfear knight a4 because I can then have b6.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to claim there that I'm holding my coconuts together. The knight on f6, by the way, after f3, it's like desperate. Now we have to get him working. And then, so if knight h5, let's say g3, also a thought, then I'm going to play f5.
I don't think he's going to give you g3.
Okay, but I'm just talking about the ideas of knight h5. And the big one though is that I have to be ready for like knight a4, and then I'm hoping this b6. There's a lot of complications after knight a4 b6 because he can maybe even take on b6 and c3 me, and it turns into a mess. But I'm still with black being a little bit better here. But we do have, this is a very key moment for black because black has to find something, an idea again now, pronto.
Well, it would also be enough to just keep the knight on e1 forever. Like there might be some very calm way of playing this position.
Wait, but let's imagine it's white's move and he plays knight a4. It's not so pleasant for a peasant.
You play b6.
Okay, but then my knight isn't active on f6. That's what I'm trying to say. I want that guy to be active. And it's still white will be doing things. So for example, let's just say it's white's move, right? Okay, king g7 was played. Holy moly.
King g7.
I'm not a huge fan.
Well, I was looking for some kind of calm setup, Jesse. I was trying to come up with some kind of prophylactic move that would allow me to answer knight a4 with knight takes c2. That's what I was kind of dreaming of.
Yeah, it doesn't work though, right?
But I hadn't yet found a way to do it, no.
Yeah.
Like what I'd looked at was rook 8 to d7, knight a4, knight takes c2, rook takes d6, knight takes a1, right? And then the point was I put my rook where it's defended. The problem was the knight on f6 is still hanging. So I need like two moves to set this up, king g7 and rook 8 d7.
King g7, let's just talk about it briefly. It's saying, boss, that that's an improving move and that you can't actually do anything.
He's just saying knight on e1, but he's probably also preparing some more than that, right? He's probably slowly improving some things.
Yeah.
And I guess, okay, so we're saying that knight d3 is out because of knight b3. And on knight a4, we're claiming that black has a little something something with b6. Let's just say it's a little something though, you know? One cool thing about knight a4 b6 is, let's say you take once and go back to c3, then maybe, and I want to stress the maybe in this, maybe we have a little something after b5. But it's
well, let me put that on the board. So knight a4, b6, take.
Knight c3, b5.
Yeah.
But I want to stress, I don't feel, you know. Now we don't have, now we can't keep the knight out of d5, for an example.
Right.
Okay.
So when the knight comes to
d7.
c5, we might just have to trade it. Yeah.
And that b5 move makes me nervous. If black wanted to be safe there, he could play a5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to 0 here.
Oh my gosh. Icy has a variation for you, Jesse.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. Okay, knight a4.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's here's with the king on g7. Okay, sorry. Let's take back king g7. I just need to check this variation.
Okay.
So instead of king g7, play rook 8 d7.
Rook 8 d7?
Rook 8 to d7, my move from before.
What's the idea of rook 8 d7?
To prevent knight a4.
Okay, so knight a4.
Knight a4, knight c2. Boom.
You guys are insane.
Rook takes d6. Knight takes a1. Rook takes f6. King g7. King g7 then!
Knight takes c5.
Right? Rook to maybe d1 or d2. Let's say d2, I guess.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild.
It's also genius. Now that's some prophylaxis, Jesse.
Rook 8 d7, boss. It's just setting it. You're a cheapo merchant.
Wait, but
I knew you were going to
cheapo
say that.
merchant.
You do not appreciate Nimzovich at all. You read
Yeah,
the
no,
book.
I do.
You
Because
proselytize it
Rook
without
8
even
d7
understanding
doesn't
it.
it
You're
doesn't
like a
improve our
Christian,
position.
Jesse, with the Bible, who doesn't understand anything in the Bible and goes around telling people about the good word.
Okay, boss, but listen, it takes away the square from my knight. It doesn't fix the knight on f6. And if white just plays a move like king f2 and calls you a cheapo merchant, then still knight a4 is on the table. And then we're wondering, why did you play rook 8
How are you
d7?
ever going to play knight a4 here?
If I just play king f2 after your weird rook 8
Don't I
d8,
still have knight c2?
I don't know why.
How does king f2 allow you to...
But you see what I'm
Ain't that
saying?
tactic?
I'm saying, boss, you're not even doing anything with rook 8 d7. It's just a
I'm
cheap.
preventing you from moving.
Okay, hold on. King g7. So let's just try to get inside Gukesh's mind here for a second. So
I can't even get inside yours. Do you know what prophylaxis is?
oh, now we're talking some smack.
I'm keeping white from moving any pieces, and you say I'm not doing anything.
Okay, but David, let me just figure this out. Let me just try something, David. So on knight a4, let's pretend that b6, that white is fine. Okay, maybe then I play knight d7.
Wait, what?
So king g7, knight a4, and then knight d7.
I thought it was a nice line, David. I thought it was very, very Dvoretsky.
Like
but
Jesse's
but
like,
wait, David, wait.
King f1, king f2.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say, David, is like it. I really want to improve the knight on f6, right? So I'm trying to get inside Gukesh's head, and I think he has a different idea. So it's a different idea of prophylaxis. So king g7, if knight a4. At first, I was thinking b6, but then let's do knight d7.
Okay.
And so I still want to play f5. I'm still saying that knight d3 isn't going to do it.
Knight d3. There's knight c2.
Right.
For now. And Jesse, you know, I was going to improve the pieces eventually. I was just keeping the opponent from moving first.
Okay. So
Oh,
one of the things one quick thing I want to stress.
yeah.
So the natural question is then, well, why not knight d7 instead of king g7? And the point is that on the immediate knight d7, I have knight d5. And one of the big problems about that is now c3 is threatened, and if you move the c pawn, right, then my rook on d6 is truly undefended, and then there's going to be a discovered check. So one of the things about king g7 is that I'm taking away that discovered check, as well as just improving my king.
Oh, so
No,
it's like a
King G7 is a
prophylactic move.
beautiful move. King
Yeah.
G7 is a beautiful move to have. I mean, it's a big improvement, and it's one of the main things I wanted to do next after Rook A D7. My next move was definitely King G7.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is one of the reasons I despise the move, I'm sorry, is that we want to keep the d7 square clear for our boy.
But I don't even need it. I don't even need it. And I've come up with another plan as well for improving Black's position. And that's, just what Merles is asking for in chat. What is the plan if Black is better? And I've got a sick plan, Jesse. I want to go H5, H4 as Black. It's the correct side of the board, right? I'm expanding. I'm taking space. Knights love that. The opponent's knight's going to hate that, right? Once my pawn gets to H4, you got to worry. Is he going to play H3 and shatter my whole structure? G takes H is not really winning a pawn. You don't even have to think about, are we recovering our pawn? Is it a sack? Two H pawns are worth the same as one normal pawn, right? So I go H5, H4. I'm threatening H3. If you go H3, now my knight on F6 is happy, right? Knight H5. It's coming in.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to where I was. I didn't understand it at first. So I'm gonna go back to -0.3.
Where had you put it before?
I briefly went back to 0 because I didn't get it, but now I got it.
Okay.
Because I didn't understand that King G7 had an answer to knight A4.
Yeah. So some people in chat are saying that if I go for an H5 plan as Black, they can match it with H4 as white, right? To some extent, they can, but if that's Black's side of the board, almost any pawn move for white, we're going to have a little something we can do about it, right? So if I go H5 and you go H4, I'll move the knight off of F6, for example, and play F5, and then recapture on F5 with the knight, maybe in some cases. Or there's other plans. There's F6, G5. There's going to be things to do. So H4 might slow Black down, and it might be your best defensive move against H5, but it won't. You're not going to shut down the king side completely off of that, right? There's still room for Black to do things.
One question from chat that it's reasonable is, what are we going to do on the basic knight d5? And he says, I don't see what's wrong with it. There's a variety of plans here for Black. The simplest is c6, but we also could think about weird stuff like knight e8. But in general, let's just on general principles, the issue with knight d5 is on c6, it looks like you are trading my bad knight for your good knight. That'd be the way. Kostya's got, oh, I see. No, Kostya's got a different position.
Yeah. No, I'm following you. Knight d5, c6.
Again, there might be something better than c6, but that looks unpleasant for white. Again, just because our knight's better, our rooks are better. Not because we're geniuses, just for basic chess.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna quickly show folks the heat map because they were asking for it. So this is our site, folks. If you join our site, you get to choose the ratings that you want to track along with your profile. You get your training plan, And over on the right side here, you guys can see the heat map, which shows how many hours you've put in over the year. I've also got a little icon. I'm going to click on it. Actually, this doesn't pop out yet. Soon, folks, very soon, it's going to pop out. You're going to get an expanded view, get even more info. But these guys little icons here for any time you've played like a classical game. And then, of course, the heat map, the brighter your chart, the more hours you're putting in. So if you'd like to get your own heat map, chessdojo.club, folks, get 20% off with our code WC24, which will end when the World Championship ends. So guys, that could end any day. You don't know. One of the players could drop out and say they've had enough, and then that's it. No more deal. So get in while you still can.
David says no deal. So let's win this match, somebody. No, I want the match to go on for a while, Kostya.
Yeah, me too. I don't want the deal to end, because then people will miss out. You know, that'd be so sad.
In general, everybody, don't worry about missing out on things. Just in general, relax.
Yeah, but also, time's running out. You don't wanna miss shots by never taking them.
The girl has no name asks, can we explain the mind games behind this? Are they both trying to win? Are they both playing ambitiously, or somebody trying to defend? And I think there's a very clear narrative that at first Ding was playing very ambitiously. When he moved his rook off of the D file to avoid trades and defend that C pawn, he had in mind some ambitious maneuvers. And Gukesh found what I would call a brilliant response, but certainly a response to his plans. And then when Ding has played Rook D1, that was partly an admission that his plans weren't working, and he's coming back around to trying to hold the position. So, I mean, would he spring on a chance to take the advantage? Of course, but at the moment, his moves are defensive moves.
Yeah. They're soon gonna equalize on the clock. Similar to what happened yesterday, where one player had an advantage on time and then ended up catching up to their opponent. Maybe even getting under some pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, each game White was better prepared. Big time lead early on. And then somehow that caused Black to play really well in both games.
Yeah.
Whereas some of us get demoralized if our opponents are blitzing out prep, right? And then we just keep struggling the whole game. They really turned on a pretty good notch.
Definitely. I don't love it. But yeah, I always see like whenever one player has good prep, the other player gets to be the first one to turn on their brain. And then that ends up often being an advantage when the game gets out of control and neither player's in prep anymore. And one player's already been working their took us off and the other one is just getting into it. So it's like, yeah, you have to warm up the brain as you get into it.
In G7, we've got a move. King F2. 16 minutes.
King F2.
The king creeps up a square. And yeah, that move doesn't make any huge commitment. And now Gukesh will either slightly improve the position or maybe launch a pawn on the king side. G5 or H5 would be exciting. Knight H5 is a candidate. Knight D7 is a candidate.
Thank you, Charlie. Glad you're appreciating it. I mean, someone's got to do a no engine commentary.
Yeah.
Can't all be engine.
I mean, that would be the easiest. That would be the easiest way. Those people don't have to sweat.
Yeah.
Imagine how easy it would be, Coasty, if we just turned on the engine.
I find engine commentary harder actually because you get the answer right away, and then what are you supposed to talk about for 15 minutes while Ding thinks about King F2? Whereas without the engine, like, you at least have to think about stuff.
I mean, I suppose you could check your emails and text messages and stuff after you tell people what the engine said.
I get tired, man. I've been on I got invited to be on some of those things. You just get tired. You're like, oh, because you're not even thinking. You're just hanging out and just uselessly waiting. It's like you're at some sad job you don't want to be at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, PB Corporeal. I would prefer that they use a small increment, keep it civilized at the end, be able to write down the moves successfully. I think one of the players didn't have their score sheet correct at the very end yesterday.
Yeah. Also, the engine, like, it just doesn't match. I'm sure you guys have had this experience, but sometimes, I'll be in a game tanking, and then I realize, like, that the move that I've been thinking about for the last, like, 5-10 minutes just, like, hangs a pawn or something, It's just, like, complete waste, right? And then during the commentary, they're never, like, suggesting blunders for their players. They're like, oh, he's either looking at the top engine move or the second move or the third engine move. He must be looking at one of these 3 moves, right? Because that's the only moves in the position. Whereas, like, yeah, I mean, like, the amount of times I would have blundered, like, some knight d3, knight takes b3 in my calculations, just over and over again.
Yeah. Unless there's been a real change in leadership at chess.com, I or LLLLL, they will be using engine. The production team will insist.
Okay, so King F2, just throwing black the question.
Yeah. And GUKESH thinking. They're at move 19, by the way, folks. So there's another 20, 21 moves to be played here with no increment yet. Please don't tell us about the engine eval here, Lazy Sat. No, you can keep it to yourself if you need to know it, or go talk to people on a chess.com broadcast about it.
Yeah.
But the people you're going to find here don't want to know about it, so they don't want to talk about it either.
Exactly. Also, let me just say, guys, from experience, the chess.com eval bar, especially, like, on the events page where I imagine most people are watching this, is horrible. Like, it's a very weak engine.
Like, it's even wrong. It's that bad. It's, like, so old.
It's often wrong, and I have to use it for the St. Louis recaps to analyze the games there. And a lot of times it just doesn't give me a conclusion. Like, a normal engine would tell me if an endgame is, like, winning or not, and then this one, it can't think far enough to figure it out, so it gives me some BS evaluation. So yeah, I really actually just can't trust it for, like, anything. So it's not even the right evaluation necessarily, whatever it's given.
I saw one of the weirdest evals the other day. It was a queen ending with an extra pawn. And there was no potential to, like, win a second pawn or anything like that, right? And the eval was, like, minus 2.5. And it's like, what? Like, either you're up a pawn or you're queening or there's a perpetual, right? So, like, 0, 1, or 9 would make sense, right? Or infinity.
Yeah.
It's like, what is minus 2.5? I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
You guys, here's a crazy thought here. So one thing the most aggressive move here, I think, is knight h5. Okay. Now we have other candidates, but I just want to show one crazy tactical idea. So my first concern with knight h5 would be knight a4. h5, David's move was played, by the way. But let me just show quickly this tactic. It's kind of fascinating. So if knight a4, this tactic might come in the game too. So let's just show it. When knight a4 comes, I might have knight c2. So this forces the trade of the rooks.
Uh-huh.
And then on knight c2, I have rook d2. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to mention because after h5, which is more, and h5 ultimately could be a similar thing. So if we get our pawn to h4, it's just a cool thing. And then maybe we play knight h5 after, kind of a typical thing to do over there. So the question would be, if knight a4 now, are we still doing knight c2? Maybe knight a4, knight d7, like we're talking about, but now that the king is on f2, the knight c2 ideas suddenly start coming up. Merle says that h4 is now forced for him.
Yeah. It does look like the most robust defense here.
Let's just say, though, forced, it can't be forced.
No.
It's not forced.
Not like forced.
But I do agree that if I was black, I wouldn't really know what I would do after h5, h4, or what I've achieved by h5. Maybe there's an argument you could make that after h4, that the f5 break will be a little bit more potent.
Okay, MC says that knight a4, knight c2 might not work here, so let's double check it.
Now, by the way, on knight a4, we don't have to do knight c2, but we could also have knight d7, but we do want to check it. So knight c2, knight a4, knight c2.
Yeah, okay. What's the problem?
So he goes rook d6, knight c2, rook check, king. I don't know where he wants to put his king. I'll put it on f1 for him. Rook c2, knight c5, going after the queen side.
Now, one thing I want to say about this position with the knight c5 is one reason I wanted my knight on h5 was that so in this position I could have knight f4.
Right. I think even a move slow, that's going to be fantastic.
So maybe still h4, knight h5.
So now h4, yeah. And he's going to take on b7, and we're going to go to h5, and he's going to go to c5, and we'll come to f4.
Yeah, I'll just play the line out.
And he's going to run his a-pawn like a freak. That a-pawn's a real drug, dude.
Yeah, I think it might be enough to draw here.
No, I think black wins. A6, knight h5, and GG. I found the line. White got mated.
I think instead of running the king into the corner, white could have repeated, right? And come out to f1.
Oh, but I was trying to win.
You're trying to win for both sides. Well, then, yeah, then maybe you won't have a draw.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's stress h5. Just another slow building move. And the claim, I mean, white's only really active move here is knight a4. So that's the only one I think we need an answer to.
Critical tactical detail, Kostya, was that when we played knight f4 for black, if white played g3, they would more or less be in trouble after rook takes h2.
Wait, what was that? Sorry?
In that long line you just showed everybody, there was like a key moment in black's counterplay where they go knight f4.
Right.
And attack the g2 pawn. And if white plays g3, which I think would be the basic #1 move that, I don't know, 1500 would ask themselves about when seeing what black's up to. Black has rook takes h2 anyway, and it looks probably slightly better for black.
Yeah, it looks
slightly better winning.
Okay, new move on the board, knight e2. It looks like a sad move. Knight e2 looks to me like a very sad move.
Well, it's trying to trade the beast on d4 in order to then maybe release the not beast on e1.
Okay, up to me, knight e2 is a clear admission that we're worse. So now, yeah.
Good God, if we had played rook 8 d7 before starting to play frisky moves like h5, we would have knight takes c2, just devastating way. Ay, ay, ay.
This 92 does not impress. Okay, I think that, okay, let's just say this. The intuition of 92 is that he's going to take on d4, a pawn is going to appear on d4, and then knight d3 will hold everything together.
Yeah.
Right?
Reasonable. He wouldn't be the first person to think that.
Okay, it's an idea. Okay, I'm coming around maybe to at least the idea of this 92 move.
Why
All right, David, let me just let's try to spar this out. How about I just play h4 just because I wanted to? And then let's say you take and I go c takes.
Sorry. Tell me what you're doing.
So h4, knight takes, c takes. And then let's just say knight d3. You can change your mind later.
No.
And then knight d7.
Basic question.
And here, I guess to me, I would say black's a little bit better because I'm going to have maybe f5. If I need to, I can play c5. Just have a little bit more space.
Well, I think white's going to play c5 immediately.
Yeah, I kind of
Okay,
like
but
white's positioning.
I don't know what it does. Rook e6.
And b4.
But what's
I'm
next?
asking if you want to play c6.
No, I want to play f5.
Okay.
Yeah. He definitely wants to keep playing on the king side.
Yeah. No, black's got a little zhuzh. We can go back and try to make it more precise. I mean, I don't even know if h4 is the right move after 92. I'm just
he's played some move. He's played some move. What's he brought us?
Knight c6.
I was thinking about that. Okay. But what I didn't get was what he intends after white trades once and plays knight d3.
Okay, but then we can do Kostya's obnoxious move pawn take and claim that the pawn on a5 is a permanent taco. Now, in Kostya's variation, there was a tactical reason it didn't work, but this time it looks highly annoying. Rook takes, pawn takes.
Yeah.
That's an advantage for black. Okay, simple chess. GUKESH, simple chess.
And what about the immediate knight d3? Oh, the knight b4?
Well, we got to also say on knight d3, you're not threatening anything yet.
No.
Yeah, but knight b4, that looks like a good...
So yeah, let's talk about white's candidate moves. We got knight d3, and also he could just be a... I was going to say maybe he... Yeah, I think he can just be a jerk face and go back to knight c3. Because on rook... No. I take that back. Knight c3 will not work because we can take on d1 and the a5 pawn falls. Okay, good. So maybe knight d3 is kind of sort of the only move. Let's see what white-black could do after knight d3.
Well, didn't Kostya just tell you knight d3, knight b4? Wasn't that
Yeah,
crushing?
that's annoying.
Okay.
It seemed like he just took us down with one move.
Oh, maybe I have to... Okay. This might be an impulsive move on my part. I'm going to go to negative 0.5.
Oh.
What do you mean? Just take on d6.
Pawn takes, and then I'm better.
Mildly.
What do you mean? You're going to babysit the pawn on a5 all your life long?
I'll babysit I'll babysit it. I'll play knight c3, knight d5, knight d3. I'll get my knights out.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, rook takes d6 is just admitting you're about 0.5 worse. It's not the end of the game, but you're going to suffer.
Yeah, but not 0.5.
I don't know.
Okay.
I know.
It's not so bad.
You tango weak pawns and I don't.
One weak pawn is not going to lose me the game, you know?
I know.
But
That's why we only say negative 0.5, my
as
friend.
long as I get my knights off the back rank, this is well within drawing margin.
I like, by the
quite
way, I want to
comfortable.
just say knight c6. I like it a lot. It's very simple and put some questions to dude.
Yeah, but white's cozy. It like minus 0.5 is truly uncomfortable. You're like wondering if you might lose. But this is like minus 0.25, 27, 28,
No,
something
you
like
can
I
say
know I
that.
got this. I'm never gonna lose.
Oh God, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like point two, point three for black. But it's I'm just saying that because I'm trying to like kind of give like a computer eval, but like from a human's perspective, it does seem unpleasant because black is getting this f5 in, and you're just kind of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody kind of wants to be there that spot.
I mean, I'm the king of being freaked out when I'm slightly worse and making really bad decisions and not knowing how to defend, and I'm not worried here as white yet.
Well, you've matured, David. You're okay now with these
I
kinds
don't
of
think
quiet positions.
that's
I
very
mean,
nice.
honestly, negative 0.5, it's not cause to freak out. Negative 0.5 isn't the end of the game at all. That's just an
I
advantage.
freak out at negative 0.5.
No.
That's how I know we're not there.
Um, One thing I want to just
Ooh,
say,
knight c3.
I C3, I was kind of guessing that move.
Wait, well,
It's consequential because the pawn is hanging.
this was dropping a pawn.
It's consequential because he's hanging his pawn. Maybe.
Okay, let's say the obvious. So rook takes rook,
Yeah.
Is he going knight takes?
but let's just say knight takes. That's hard to believe for a variety of reasons. Knight takes. It's hard
There's
to
still
believe.
like knight takes a5, right? Like,
Yep.
Well, knight takes a5. He could play rook takes and rook takes c5.
true.
Okay, so let's try it. So knight takes. It's very hard to believe.
Yeah.
Now, the good news for white is that on rook d2, king e3, we don't see anything for black there.
Yeah, it's like a magic trick. Somehow there's no mate.
Hmm.
But hmm.
Okay. Okay, maybe things showing some defensive zeal here. I'm still very worried for white here, though.
Yeah.
Oh, because the other line I'll just show if white trades both rooks,
Yeah.
and because I also want to see it, and then it gives the pawn on a5 and goes knight d3. I think black has very important knight d7 at the end,
Right.
and then I don't see how white continues.
That's close to being critters. That's minus 1.1.
That's pretty big, yeah. Because you get the pawn, the queen side.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, and if rook d2 check right now, then just king e3, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Oh, knight on e1. Ain't no fun.
He's done something. He's found
Knight
something.
d4, uh-oh.
No!
Uh-oh. No, I think it's just one time. I think it's just one time, David. Don't worry.
I know.
But he did repeat.
ID2,
Oh, they're
okay.
repeating really
Actually,
fast.
that's great.
That's
Make him
very
beg
fast.
once. Make him beg once. Yeah, make him beg once. That was cool, man. Make him beg once. Now,
Nah, it's
he's done it twice.
It's over.
Jesse, don't get so excited.
Or it's not over, but I think it's
over.
Uh-oh, it's happening.
Yeah, it's over.
I think he's calming down.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Alex Kolovich is in the room. Shout out to Kolovich. Probably maybe he's the fair play guy. That's it. Handshake. Draw agreed.
Oh, man.
Ah.
Okay, let me update our score. And they're talking a little bit. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Wait, against Rook D2 check, what would you have played?
I think it was King E3.
And then Rook D1?
Knight D1.
Knight A5?
Yeah, Rook A5, Rook
You play it
D1,
out.
King E2, or Knight D3 maybe.
Did DM ever send us a template? Did he ever send us something?
We just have our normal templates, I think.
Yeah, I'm using an old one.
But how come he hasn't? I thought he was going to send us a template. What's going on?
Well, he's been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but we wanted a template. That was like the big thing. Where's my template?
Yeah, I think you do have a template, Jesse. If you go to Stream Elements, the DM might need to send you the link for that, but I'm pretty sure you have one that's very similar to what I'm using right now. Okay. So 1.5.5, Gukesh gets white tomorrow. And yeah, I think it's oh shoot, guy, we got to do the recap, guys. It's already the clock's ticking. Clock's ticking.
Yeah. You guys want? How do you want? I'm happy to do it by myself. I think only one of us should do it.
Right.
So I'll do it, or unless one of you guys wants to do it, your call.
Well, I'm happy to do some of them, but I feel like, Jesse, you got to sleep. It's Tuesday for you. I'm still on Monday. So
yeah, I'll do it, man.
I'll crash. Yeah, you got the whole day ahead of you.
I feel like he should have pressed more, guys. Before we record the recap, there's like one last thing to talk about, which is the game ending. I feel like Gukesh should have pressed a little bit. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the more he makes dude work, the longer he goes. Show that determination. Show that grind forever, even if it's equal. Would Magnus agree to a draw here? Probably not.
Maybe. I think it's fine. I think it's fine to settle into the match. To me, it feels like pretty comfortable draw as black for Gukesh. Like he got caught in, not caught, but like, okay, Ding played some line. He didn't know it. He reacted normally. Equalized absolutely fine. Maybe it was even slightly better. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's like a double question mark to take a draw, and the game might still end in a draw, but you're not sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm gonna lose this game if I press it as black, right?
Yeah, probably no. I doubt he thought he's risking anything, but maybe he didn't think he has huge winning chances either, and yeah, might as well just get on the scoreboard.
Right. So I don't think that pressing is inconsistent with getting on the scoreboard, right? Like he can press and also get on the scoreboard just like an hour later. I think you want to play longer.
Maybe. Well, when you're his coach, you can tell him that.
I'm not even that tired yet. Yeah, I feel like it should go longer.
That's funny.
Because at the very minimum, on 92, we could play H4 and get that interesting position where, I'd rather be black. We could call it equal if we want, but I'd rather be black.
The one with the knight on D3 after knight takes D4.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess time will tell. Time will tell. Maybe he loses as white tomorrow, and then, yeah.
No, I still think Gukesh is the favorite, even though he's down a point.
It's just,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not saying he should be like, crazily pursuing the win, right? Like I think I've been clear. I'm not saying like he's got to win this game, he's got to come back or anything like that. I just think your match strategy is to always be pushing in every single way,
Yeah, and also to keep the games going long. I
Mhm.
want it to go long.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, if he gets drained by playing this game longer, Sachin, the idea is that his opponent gets drained as well, So
I don't know. I could see him being kind of low confidence from yesterday. Match starts off basically worst possible way, right? Like, especially, I mean, really the worst possible way. It's not like he was the challenger, the underdog. He loses the first game. He's like a big favorite going into it. He loses the first game with white. I don't know. I think like draw with black. Fine. You know what? Fine. Just like stabilize one game. I think. No, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it looks worse on Ding. But Ding didn't really get anything with white. So that's kind of good news for Gukesh.
I mean, he played well today. That's good news, period, right?
Yeah.
I think I think throughout the game he played at a very good level. Um, and yesterday I think he played at a very poor level. So that's very important, right? Just to go in one game from, 2400 to 2800 or so. He can play more games like today. That'll be great. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well then, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yep, it'll be fun. And I'm gonna record this thing. We're gonna push it out. Pronto.
All right.
Nice.
Fun hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, David, let me ask you something actually, bud. So yesterday, I was exhausted, dude, and I was like, David, dude, how did you manage through the rest of the day?
I didn't do much else the rest of the day.
But you had to like deal with kids and snot and all kinds of stuff.
Well, briefly, they had school. So, like,
Okay.
I took the kids to school, tried to deal with a car issue unsuccessfully, helped my mom with one thing. And then after about 2 hours of, life, I was back home and going to bed. And I didn't sleep great, but I basically rested the whole day until school was done. So I had like 4 or 5 hours of just laying in bed, sometimes asleep. And then I got up and dealt with, kids and snot again, as you say, diapers and dinners and
Diapers
so
and dinners,
forth.
dude. Yeah.
And as soon as they went to sleep at 8, I went to sleep at 8 too. And then I
Okay.
got
Okay.
up and then I got up at midnight for this. So I basically like chopped my day into a bunch of weird pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know the research on whether you can take 8 hours of sleep and just cut it into 3 or 4 random pieces and paste it in here and there. I don't know if that works, but I tried it.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard you can do it. It just takes several weeks of suffering to get used to it.
And then it'll be over.
Yeah.
And you have to go
So
back
by
to
the time
normal life.
you're into it, yeah, the match will be done.
So I'm gonna go get 3 more hours now and do today. Today I have scheduled a classical game with Cross Online, I think. So I won't be sleeping during the day. So I should grab these 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys gonna stream that?
Probably.
Okay, cool. Do you know, well, tell people when it is, Mouse.
I think it's in like 5hours.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, dude, your sleep schedule's wrecked. You're gonna be
Was that
wrecked.
not clear? But at least there's some sleep, so that's something.
You're gonna be wrecked. I mean, I'm gonna be wrecked too. I got up at 4 today.
Yeah,
4.
everybody's wrecked.
I'm also wrecked. I napped from midnight to midnight 30, and then dragged myself out of bed.
Jesus, that's a tiny. You could not have felt very well at 12:30.
Nah, I didn't feel great, but you know, it was worth it, guys. It was worth it. We're watching history here.
Yeah. All right. That's all for now.
Yeah.
See you, folks. Everybody be well.
All right, Jesse.
And continue to enjoy the
Go
match.
take down Naka and Gotham. You got
we're gonna
this.
beat him. Do it, bud. We're gonna beat him. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks. Gonna raid here in a sec. See y'all next time.